Chapter 283. At present, the clues are very limited, and Hinata and Jiraiya have nothing to discuss. Everything can only wait for the follow-up investigation. Back in his room, Hinata took a shower, wrapped himself in a small quilt and lay on the bed, thinking about the next thing. Hinata wants to plant trees all over the universe with Otsutsuki Kagaya, but he doesn't want to have a falling out with Shinobu, so there are too many things to do. From the analysis of the data, Otsutsuki Kagaya still has a lot of feelings for future generations, and the Otsutsuki clan also has a tradition of leaving power to the next generation before death. And the reason why Kagaya became greedy is because she is not old and not dead. Since she is not old and not dead, there is no need for future generations. And the ninja world is a relatively special world. The natural energy here is very large. The three holy lands use natural energy to cultivate. The Great Toad Sage has lived for 1,000 years. The Shikatsu Sage of the Shikatsu Forest and the White Snake Sage of the Ryuchi Cave are estimated to have lived for more than 1,000 years. In contrast, the Otsutsuki clans Pu, Mamashiki, and Kinshir are completely ignorant children in front of the three holy lands. However, the Otsutsuki clan has been planting trees all over the universe before Kagaya. And the history of the Otsutsuki clan is longer than the three holy lands. From this point of analysis, Pu, Mamashiki, and Kinshir are really just small soldiers of the Otsutsuki clan. Perhaps because Hinata has put himself in the position of the Otsutsuki clan, Hinata has no good impression of the three holy lands. The three holy lands are so powerful, but they are still willing to be the summon beast of a ninja. It is completely to participate in the affairs of the ninja world. From the history of the ninja world, the contract partners of the three holy lands are people who have a great impact on the ninja world. Jiraiya has been fooled by Mount Mayaboku since childhood, and has been looking for the so-called Destiny's Child all his life. And Naruto, as the Destiny's Child, may have brought some changes to the ninja world, but the future of the ninja world still has not ushered in peace, only stronger enemies. Obviously, the Destiny's Child is just a scam made up by the Great Toad Sage. And the so-called change to the ninja world is just resealing Otsutsuki Kagaya. Hinata used the conspiracy theory to smear Mount Mayaboku to the very end. As the big boss behind the scenes of the shinobi world, Hinata felt that he was fully qualified. In the future, he might even have to plant trees in the three holy lands. Mount Mystic Wood, Shickle Forest, and Dragon Ground Cave. Screw the three holy lands. After a moment of silence, Hinata sighed deeply. In the end, he was not completely evil. If he attacked Mount Mayaboku, he would definitely fall out with Naruto. Hinata did not want to lose a good friend for power. However, the Dragon Ground Cave was completely different. First, he would destroy the Ryuchi Cave. After Tsunade died, he would go to the Shiban Forest to plant trees. As for Mount Mayaboku, he would leave it for last. Hinata had already thought about it. When the time came, he could say this to Huiyi. It's not that he won't plant trees in the ninja world, but he will wait until all of Hinata's relatives and friends have passed away before coming to the ninja world to plant trees. At that time, Hinata would no longer have any burden in his heart. 100 years or so, for Huiyi he could afford to wait. What Hinata has to do is to live for 100 years, and then come back to the ninja world. I have to tell Black Zetsu about this idea. Maybe in the future, I will return to the ninja world to get the Jubi hidden by Otsutsuki. Hinata suddenly felt that this feeling of being a big boss behind the scenes was really great, and he had a sense of superiority in IQ. And he could kill whoever he wanted. After being excited for most of the night, Hinata fell asleep with his pillow. If it weren't for his good physique, Hinata would have 2 dark circles the next day. Then goodbye. At the entrance of the hotel, Hinata waved goodbye to Naruto and Jiraiya. Naruto said reluctantly, "Hinata, why don't you travel with us? It's good to look around." "Absolutely not." Hinata refused sternly. "It's too dangerous to travel with you." After saying goodbye to Jiraiya and Naruto, Hinata embarked on the journey back to Shinobu. There was no need to rush back. Hinata traveled all the way, eating all the delicacies of the Rainbow Country, and took more than a month to return to Shinobu. Naruto's office. The information this time is very important. Hinata's small face was extremely serious, and he seriously reported what he, Jiraiya, and Naruto saw and heard to Tsunade. Tsunade's face was as black as the bottom of the pot. Such important information. You wandered outside for 2 months before returning to the village to report, Hinata argued. I have only been out for 54 days, less than 2 months, and the outside world is too dangerous. I have encountered a lot of trouble. That's right. The outside world was too dangerous. There was the temptation of delicious food everywhere. And if he wasn't careful, his wallet would shrink. The reward for this mission wasn't even enough for Hinata to spend on delicious food. Hinata was depressed for a while because of this. Tsunade ignored Hinata's antics and first looked at Hinata's mission report. After thinking for a long time, he said in a deep voice, Hinata, during the time you were playing outside, the relevant information about the battlefield in the Fire Country has been investigated. Hinata suddenly became nervous. People who had done bad things were like this. As long as it was slightly related to them, they would be afraid, worried that they would give themselves away. What are the results of the investigation? Tsunade took out a folder from the drawer with the words confidential document written on it. Handing the confidential document to Hinata, Tsunade lightly said, Take a look for yourself. Hinata curiously asked, Can I look at it at my level? Tsunade lightly snorted and said with a face full of displeasure, Your ninja level is already Jonin, and you are my secretary, and also closely related to this matter. Of course you can look at it. Hinata opened the confidential document and looked at it. Tsunade said, After becoming a Jonin, you need to go through a series of training before you can really perform the tasks of a Jonin. Jinin will teach you in this regard. There are some information in the village that only Jonin can access, as well as the relevant information about other Jonin villages in the ninja world. You must also memorize it by heart. Hinata casually responded, Got it. Hinata was completely immersed in the contents recorded in the confidential document. According to the information, Shinobu's ninja found a very special material on the battlefield where Urashima was sealed. Through research, it was known that the cells on it were very active, and their vitality was also abnormally strong, even stronger than Hashirama's cells. However, not long ago, this special material was suddenly stolen, and Shinobu had so many ninjas, but they didn't even see the shadow of the other party. Hinata was very sure that when he fought with Urashima didn't leave any cells, blood, or anything like that. Even if there were, they were all absorbed by Chibaku Tensei. But if it was Black Zetsu who did it, he might have taken out the cells of the Geto Mazo, and then let the bordered soil steal the cells of the Geto Mazo. Chapter 284. If the clues found on the battlefield of the Land of Fire are combined with the information found by Hinata and Jiraiya, many things are already on the verge of being revealed. Tsunade's face was extremely dignified. This may be a huge conspiracy that is about to sweep the entire ninja world. In the dark corners of the ninja world, there are extremely powerful existences, hiding in the dark and manipulating the development of the ninja world. No one likes their fate to be controlled by others, and no one wants their world to be played in the hands of others. Thinking of this, Tsunade's heart not only has a sense of urgency, but also a deep anger. That is the deepest killing intent for the mastermind behind the scenes. Hinata peeked at Tsunade from time to time, and always felt a little uneasy in his heart. Even if Tsunade still trusts him, Hinata still has a guilty conscience. It may be that the thick-skinned and black-hearted skill hasn't been practiced to perfection yet. Hinata's face is super thin, and his heart is a very kind person. Hinata, what do you think about this matter? Tsunade looked up at Hinata and asked, What happened between you and Jiraiya? Was it man-made or a coincidence? Do you have any judgment on this? Hinata scratched his head and seriously analyzed. It's hard to say for the time being whether it was man-made or a coincidence, but lascivious sage thinks that the possibility of man-made is higher. But the Battle of the Land of Fire, although I didn't see the traces of the battlefield with my own eyes, I have heard some of it before, and even I can't do such a large-scale destruction. Last year, when I fought with Deidara of the Akatsuki, the range of his destruction was very large, but he is already dead. Tsunade said in a deep voice, We have compared the traces of the two battlefields in the Land of River and the Land of Fire. In terms of scope, the one in the Land of Fire is slightly larger, but not much larger. And the difference between the two is the depth of the damage to the ground. As Tsunade said, he took out a few photos from the portfolio, which were the aerial views of the two battlefields in the Land of River and the Land of Fire. Deidara's ninjutsu only flattened the ground, but Chibaku Tensei created a huge pit in the ground. The power of the two is completely incomparable. Moreover, one-sided destruction and the destruction caused by the aftermath of the battle are two completely different concepts. Hinata tentatively said, if one of the sides of the battle is really an enemy from outside the world, then the other side is likely to be the mastermind of the conspiracy. Tsunade nodded. From the clues we have so far, some people know that there are enemies outside the world, and their mission is to resist these enemies. In order to deal with these powerful enemies, they have to gather the strength of nine-tailed beasts to fight against them. Having said that, Tsunade's expression showed that she didn't agree with him. This is the arrogance of the 5 great ninjas. They are used to being high and mighty, used to controlling the world's discourse, thinking that their own peace is the peace of the world. Even if there are so-called strong enemies outside the world, it should be solved by the 5 great ninjas, not by others. Especially when it involves the bijou. In the original work, the so-called ninja allied forces didn't have anything to do with small ninja villages at all. The big names protected by the 5 great ninja villages are just the big names of the 5 major countries. The 5 great ninja villages don't care about the life and death of these small countries at all. Hinata is willing to bet that even if the Otsutsuki clan were to come to the shinobi world right now, and only the Jubi Jinchuriki can compete with them, the 5 great shinobi villages won't easily hand over the bijou, and they will rely on the so-called shinobi allied forces to fight against them. But these are just issues of standpoint, and have nothing to do with good or evil. After determining the standpoint of the shinobu ninja, they will think about the problem from the perspective of shinobu as a whole, and will not give up their own interests for others. Hinata thought for a while and suggested, it's better to pass this information to Horny Immortal. Isn't Horny Immortal investigating these things? With this information, he can also do his job better. Tsunade nodded and said, before you came back, I have already informed Jiraiya. Hinata lowered his head in shame. Seeing that nothing useful can be discussed, Tsunade looked at Hinata and said lightly, Hinata, go back and rest today, and come back to work tomorrow morning, and learn the theoretical knowledge that Jonin must master. Yes. After leaving Naruto Tower, Hinata's heart finally calmed down. Tsunade told Hinata this information. It can be seen that she still trusts Hinata very much. And Jiraiya and Tsunade have obviously already contacted each other, so it seems that Jiraiya didn't get any useful information from Mount Mayaboku. Perhaps Mount Mayaboku wanted to reduce their presence in the sealing of Kagaya incident, and it is estimated that they are afraid of other Otsutsuki coming to their door. Of course, there may also be other reasons. In fact, it is not difficult to see the attitude of the 3 Holy Lands towards the ninja world from Shinobu's attitude towards small ninja villages. Shinobu, as one of the 5 great ninja villages, has an extremely arrogant attitude towards small ninja villages. And the 3 Holy Lands have influenced the ninja world in the way of summon beasts for thousands of years. From the name 3 Holy Lands, it can be seen that the toads and snakes must be high and mighty, looking down on the ninja world like saints. This is not Hinata's intention to slander the 3 Holy Lands. The 3 Holy Lands have controlled natural energy for more than 1,000 years, and even an old toad can rely on natural energy to live for 1,000 years. However, the ninja world knows very little about the Sage Mode. This is obviously the 3 Holy Lands deliberately concealing the information about natural energy. Therefore, Jiraiya didn't get any information from Mount Mayaboku. And from a certain extent, it is more reasonable. In Hinata and Black Zetsu's plan, the biggest flaw is actually Hagoromo and the 3 Holy Lands, because they are all familiar with the history of the ninja world. Hagoromo's chakra is still drifting in the world, and he should be aware of Hinata and Black Zetsu's actions at this moment. Maybe Hagoromo's chakra and the Great Toad Sage are also in contact with each other. They didn't stop Hinata and Black Zetsu's plan at this moment. Maybe they want to launch a fatal blow at the most critical moment. This is very likely. But in this way, at least before the final battle, Hagoromo and Mount Myaboku won't expose Hinata and Black Zetsu's conspiracy. Or maybe Hagoromo and Mount Myaboku already know that Hinata wants to leave the ninja world with Kaguya. And this approach is more in line with their interests. But these are only a few of the possibilities. Hinata doesn't want to rely on the choice of the enemy to win or lose the key to victory. While thinking, Hinata has already walked to the door of the house. After not returning home for nearly 2 months, Hinata returned to his room to rest after washing up. During the 2 months outside, Hinata deeply missed his small bed. In the end, strength is the key to everything. Hinata is the variable of the ninja world. If Hinata stands on the side of Otsutsuki Kaguya, with the strength of Naruto and Sasuke, it will be difficult to seal Kaguya. The key to making my plan flawless is to become stronger than anyone else. I must redouble my efforts in training. Hinata lied on the bed, holding the small quilt tightly, and secretly made up his mind. Before working hard, I must save my energy. I'll wait until I wake up and then work hard in training. Chapter 285. A month's time quietly passed. Shinobu 61 April. During this time, Hinata worked very hard. Not only did he study the theoretical knowledge that a jonin must master, but he also worked hard on his cultivation to integrate all the moves he has mastered so far. As a jonin, Hinata can already be regarded as a high-level shinobu, and he is also the top combat power of shinobu. The secrets that a jonin can access are completely different from chunin and genin. For example, some simple sealing techniques, barrier ninjutsu, Hinata is qualified to apply to the village to learn, including the forbidden techniques recorded in the Book of Seals. As long as Tsunade as Naruto thinks that Hinata is qualified to learn, Hinata can even learn the forbidden techniques recorded in the Book of Seals. Of course, Hinata has already been qualified to learn the forbidden techniques with his cute face and the merits he has made in the past. However, Hinata hasn't decided what to learn for the time being. Flying Thunder God Jutsu and advanced sealing techniques are the most urgent skills for Hinata to master at present. Especially the former. Mobility is the ability that Hinata lacks the most now. However, the choice of forbidden techniques can be delayed. Hinata is currently focusing on the basic sealing techniques. As the supreme power of the shinobi world, Hinata's interest in sealing techniques is actually much greater than the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. After all, the Flying Thunder God Jutsu has too many restrictions, and Hinata himself is a ninja who can fly. After absorbing all the power of Urushi, perhaps Hinata will be able to master Yomi no Kuni. Therefore, Hinata's need for the Flying Thunder God Jutsu is not as urgent as the sealing techniques. In the Chunin exam in February, Niji and Shino were promoted to Chunin. Hinata originally wanted to use her identity as a Chunin examiner to embarrass a few genin cockroaches in the Chunin exam in February. However, during February, Hinata was flying around the Rainbow Nation, and had long forgotten about this matter. When Hinata returned home and saw Niji wearing a Chunin uniform, Hinata was deeply annoyed. Fortunately, Hinata is now a jonin, and the bulsh *T he boasted to Niji has come true. March was a month of hard work. Hinata only met with Black Zetsu once, and told him about his latest ideas. Let Kaguya temporarily give up the ninja world, and wait until Hinata's relatives and friends all die, then come back together to harvest the ninja world. Black Jew was very much in favor of this idea, and expressed his confidence that he could convince Huey. The cooperation between the two was officially on the right track. Black Zetsu gave Hinata the information on the fusion of cells, and told Hinata that White Zetsu was investigating Orochimaru's whereabouts. If Orochimaru can get the 9 tails in Minato's body, then Naruto will be safe for the time being. In addition, once White Zetsu gets hold of Orochimaru's whereabouts, Black Zetsu will inform Shinobu through his channels. There are not many ninjas in Shinobu who are qualified to pursue Orochimaru, so Hinata is likely to participate in this operation. Orochimaru will not easily cooperate with organizations, let alone rejoin organizations, and replace Deidara's position. Black Zetsu wants to use Shinobu's hand to force Orochimaru, and Hinata can take this opportunity to get what he wants most. Hinata naturally has no problem. However, there is still Sasuke between Orochimaru and Itachi Uchiha. Hinata really can't figure out why Black Zetsu thinks that these two can get along peacefully. However, the answer given by Black Zetsu made Hinata speechless. Itachi Uchiha is not worried about Sasuke following Orochimaru at all. The Sharingan is a power that Orochimaru can't resist. What's more, Orochimaru joins organizations. Itachi Uchiha can monitor Orochimaru at close range and secretly help Sasuke. And Orochimaru can get close to the only remaining Uchiha brothers in the shinobi world. As long as Konoha forces him a little, and the Akatsuki invites him, Orochimaru obviously won't care about face. After all, Orochimaru doesn't even care about becoming a woman. What's more, with the help of organizations, Orochimaru's probability of breaking the zombie seal will greatly increase. Orochimaru and Itachi Uchiha are both extremely conceited people. When the time comes, it will depend on whose means are better. In the matter of Orochimaru, Black Zetsu also specifically told Hinata one thing. Only pain can invite Orochimaru. Otherwise, Orochimaru is likely to take the opportunity to slip away. Hinata, as a ninja sent by Shinobu to chase Orochimaru, is likely to face pain head-on. Black Zetsu asked Hinata to be as merciful as possible, and it would be best if he is defeated by pain. Nagato has been fooled by bordered soil to become a god. Once Nagato is defeated, he will doubt his ability, which will affect Black Zetsu's next plan. Of course, Hinata will have no problem. After determining the next plan with Black Zetsu, Hinata only needs to wait for the village to investigate Orochimaru. As the high-end combat power of Shinobu and the right-hand man of 5th Naruto, the task of chasing Orochimaru is impossible to not involve Hinata. Hyuga residence. Hinata was studying Fuinjutsu in his room. Fuinjutsu is an extremely advanced ninjutsu knowledge, and it requires a strong sense of logic to understand it. Although Hinata's science results in his previous life have never passed, with the bonus of his talent, Hinata's mastery of Fuinjutsu is improving at an extremely exaggerated speed. Hinata can already use Fuinjutsu, 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 and Fuinjutsu. Especially Fuinjutsu. It is simply the nemesis of all fire-release ninjutsu. However, Hinata can now release chakra from all the acupuncture points in his body, which can resist Amaterasu ninjutsu. When Hinata integrates the theoretical knowledge of Fuinjutsu, he can combine his yin and yang forces to use the highest level of Fuinjutsu. After all, Hinata only absorbed a part of Fuinjutsu's power, unlike Sunflower, who absorbed the whole chakra fruit of Fuinjutsu. When the power reaches a certain level, as long as you master the trick of Fuinjutsu, you can use it at will. However, there are also advantages to learning from the basics. With the accumulation of basic knowledge, at least Hinata hopes to go further in Fuinjutsu, and even surpass the original power level of the ninja world. Every time he masters a Fuinjutsu, Hinata must study the way to break it. With such a little learning and accumulation, when Hinata learns the highest level of Fuinjutsu, perhaps even the level of Fuinjutsu that sealed Kagaya, Hinata has the ability to break it. In this way, Hinata will not be afraid of Fuinjutsu in the future. Sha sha sha. In the quiet room, only the sound of Hinata's writing could be heard. Hinata dares to swear that even before the college entrance examination in his previous life, Hinata has never worked so hard. Fuinjutsu is too important, whether it is used to seal a strong enemy, or to break the seal after being sealed. Hinata must learn this knowledge. Shinobu was established by Senju and Uchiha, a ninja family with thousands of years of heritage, and later absorbed the Hyuga clan. At the beginning of the village, the relationship between Shinobu and the Uzumaki clan was even more unusual. As one of the 5 great ninja villages, Shinobu's ninjutsu foundation is extremely amazing, and Hinata is not qualified to know these secrets until now. Chapter 286. After studying the Fuinjutsu for a whole day, Hinata's brain was a bit confused. If it was the previous Hinata, he would have fallen asleep in bed at this time. No, the previous Hinata would not work so hard at all. But now Hinata is different. After putting on his clothes, Hinata left the Hyuga residence and ran towards the secret training ground in the back mountain of Shinobu. This is the training ground that Hinata set up a month ago. The environment is relatively simple, but it is enough to practice gentle fist. Ha. Hey. Humph. Ha. As soon as he entered the forest behind Shinobu, Hinata has already perceived that his secret training ground has been occupied. When Hinata walked in, he heard the sound of someone practicing. Walking to the edge of the training ground, a pink figure was reflected in Hinata's pure white pupils. Sakura. Hinata stepped forward and said hello. Why are you here? Sakura stopped practicing when she heard the voice, turned to look at Hinata, and said embarrassedly, I thought this was an abandoned training ground, so I practiced here. Hinata looked around, and it was really quite dilapidated. Were you practicing taijutsu just now? Yes. Sakura nodded and said, although I inherited Kuroto-sensei's genjutsu, as a ninja, I can't have too many shortcomings. Seriously speaking, since Hinata began to come into contact with yin-yang release, Hinata suddenly discovered that among the 12 shinobu ninjas in the original work, except for Naruto and Sasuke, Sakura's talent is the strongest. This is not Hinata's nonsense. Sakura's talent in genjutsu was personally confirmed by Kakashi, and Sakura's talent in medical ninjutsu is worthy of the title of Tsunade's pro-disciple. And genjutsu belongs to yin release, medical ninjutsu belongs to yang release. Looking at it this way, Sakura's talent in yin-yang release could be said to be the best among shinobu without cheats. This talent was personally confirmed by Shinobu's copy ninja, and one of the Sannin. However, in the original novel, Sakura had obviously gone astray. She had given up on her talent in illusions, and even the advantage of her inner personality was not properly utilized. Although Tsunade's ninjutsu system is also very powerful, Sakura's highest achievement in the future is only at the level of Tsunade. But if he focused on the yin-yang escape art. Thinking of this, Hinata asked tentatively, Sakura, do you want to learn medical ninjutsu? In any case, Sakura was Hinata's good friend during their time in ninja school, and she was also Sasuke's wife in the original manga. The 3 strands of chakra in Hinata's hands were a gift from the future Sasuke. In this world, Sasuke was Hinata's iron magnet, and their relationship was super good. What's more, Hinata also took away Team 7 that originally belonged to Sakura. No matter how you look at it, Sunset's disciple is not as good as Kakashi's disciple. Even now, Sakura hasn't been able to become Tsunade's disciple. So no matter from which point of view, Hinata has the obligation to help Sakura. In fact, thinking about it carefully, Hinata wasn't sure if Sasuke in this world would still marry Sakura. If there is a chance in the future, he can find Sasuke to gossip. However, without the common experience of Team 7, Hinata always felt that the probability of Sasuke marrying Karen was higher. Medical ninjutsu? Sakura was a little curious. Hinata, do you think I am suitable to become a medical ninja? Hinata explained, it's not that I want to become a medical ninja, I just want to learn more ninjutsu to enrich myself. I have also learned medical ninjutsu. And, Hinata suddenly approached Sakura and said mysteriously in her ear, let me tell you, genjutsu belongs to yin release, and medical ninjutsu belongs to yang release. If you can master both yin release and yang release, you may become very powerful. Is that so? Sakura said with some surprise. Hong-sensei said before that genjutsu belongs to yin release. Hinata took a step back and said with a smile, Sakura, I think you can learn medical ninjutsu first and try your talent in this area. If possible, learn more skills so that you can deal with more unexpected situations. Sakura nodded. She trusted Hinata very much. Moreover, Hinata was so strong that his advice probably wouldn't be wrong. Hinata reminded, but you should confirm it with Hong-sensei first. Yes. Sakura said excitedly. I'll go and ask Hong-sensei tonight. Hinata moved his muscles and bones and said with a chuckle, but we can't relax on taijutsu. Let's practice together. Screech, 3 eagle cries came from the sky. Hinata looked up and saw a ninja eagle hovering over Shinobu. This was the signal for an emergency gathering of jonins. Hinata said with a slightly apologetic tone, it's really troublesome. Sakura said with some envy, jonins are like this. Hurry up and go. Naruto, Sama must have something important to do. Yes. Hinata nodded and chakra wings condensed behind his back. His feet slowly left the ground and flew quickly in the direction of Naruto Tower. This was the first time Hinata was summoned urgently after becoming a jonin. There must be a lot of jonins in Naruto Tower. As the eldest daughter of a dignified Hyuga family, Hinata must have a more eye-catching appearance. The puppet car can no longer attract people's attention. It's just Miss Hinata's daily ride. However, as a ninja who can fly, Hinata is the first person in Shinobu Village. Whoosh! Hinata quickly flew across the sky and lowered to a height close to the ground near Naruto Tower. Hinata flew around Naruto Tower 3 times to ensure that everyone nearby could see him. After that, Hinata flew to the window sill of the Jonin's conference room, opened the window and jumped in. Tsunade. At first, when he saw Hinata flying in a hurry, Tsunade really thought that Hinata was anxious about the important matters in the village. Tsunade was quite pleased with this. He didn't expect that Hinata flew around Naruto Tower several times. Just the jonins in the conference room who arrived first saw Hinata from the window 3 times. Hey. Hello everyone. Hinata enthusiastically waved his hand. From the corner of his eyes, he glanced at Tsunade's pale face. Hinata hurriedly ran to his seat and sat down. The jonins arrived at the conference room one after another. Except for the jonins who went out for missions and didn't return, there were only 54 jonins in the conference room. The 2 Hokage advisors of Konoha, as well as the patriarch of the shinobi clan, Hyuga Hayashi, were all present. Tsunade sat between the 2 Naruto advisors and said with a serious tone, "The village has just received information about Orochimaru. The name Orochimaru alone is enough to attract the attention of the entire shinobu. It has only been half a year since the collapse of Shinobu, and the hatred of the 3 generations Naruto is still on Orochimaru's head. If there is a list of the ninjas that Shinobu must kill, Orochimaru must be at the top." Tsunade looked around and said in a deep voice, "Orochimaru is not an ordinary ninja. Although Shinobu Village has been destroyed, Orochimaru still has many subordinates. Without the hindrance of the Land of Rice, Shinobu no longer has to worry about international influence. This time, we will destroy Orochimaru in one fell swoop." Tsunade obviously regarded this time's fight against Orochimaru as a war. Chapter 287. Orochimaru is not a lone wolf like Jiraiya. After leaving Shinobu for so many years, no one knows how many subordinates Orochimaru has trained. Even within Shinobu, there is no guarantee that Orochimaru's spies do not exist. The difficulty of fighting against Orochimaru is no less than attacking a small ninja village. As Shinobu's leader, Shisanara was the first to speak. Orochimaru's strength is not his own, but his talent in forbidden jutsu. Using forbidden jutsu may be able to temporarily increase a ninja's strength by paying a certain price. Naruto-sama, I suggest that we secretly gather the elite ninja team and the Anbu on standby at the border, and then send an investigation team to determine the information about Orochimaru. Tsunade and the 2 Naruto's advisors looked at each other, and after thinking for a moment said, "We also have the same idea." After a pause, Tsunade continued, "This mission is divided into 2 teams, the action team and the intelligence team. The action team will be mainly composed of Jonin, Chunin, and Anbu. As for the intelligence team, Kakashi, Hinata, Nara Shinobu." "Yes." Hinata and the other 2 stood up at the same time. Tsunade ordered, "The 3 of you will form an intelligence investigation team, and after determining the information about Orochimaru, Kakashi, you are responsible for using ninjutsu to inform the action team to start the operation." Kakashi said, "Yes." Tsunade took out a stack of information and sent it to all the jonins in the conference room. "This is all the information about Orochimaru that Shinobu currently has. Everyone take a look." Hinata understood that the specific action was just the beginning of the meeting. The real content of the meeting was how to deal with and break Orochimaru's ninjutsu. Then they would decide on the specific personnel who would participate in this operation based on the solution they had come up with. Hinata carefully looked at Orochimaru's information. It was similar to what Hinata understood in his previous life. Some of Orochimaru's ninjutsu were very difficult to deal with. Hinata reported, "Naruto-sama, although Orochimaru's hands have been sealed by the 3 generations, he can now use some ninjutsu. Tsunade nodded solemnly and asked, Hinata, you have reported this matter before. Please elaborate. Yes. Hinata stood up and explained. As we all know, Orochimaru is very talented in forbidden jutsu. Perhaps he used forbidden jutsu to transform his body. Orochimaru can now use some ninjutsu without seals. As for the specifics, we don't know yet. But we must take this into consideration and treat Orochimaru as if he was in his heyday. It is common knowledge in the ninja world that one must use hand seals to use ninjutsu. However, in fact, many brilliant ninjas can omit some of the seals when using the ninjutsu they are best at, or they can simply cast the ninjutsu without any seals. Not to mention Orochimaru, a ninja who is so obsessed with ninjutsu, Tsunade said with a dignified expression. If this is the case, then Edo Tensei is a ninjutsu that we must pay attention to. What do you think? There is not much information about Edo Tensei in the information, only that it is a ninjutsu that resurrects the dead through sacrifices. The dead resurrected through Edo Tensei must be under the control of the user, and can exert part of their strength before they were born. Kakashi frowned and said, How many dead can Orochimaru control at the same time? Shisa Nara and Kakashi looked at each other, and thought of the key to the problem. Although it is impossible to control an unlimited number of dead, once there are too many, we will be in danger. Tsunade squeezed the information in his hand and cursed in his heart. Second grandpa invented such a ninjutsu. It is simply creating trouble for the younger generation. Kakashi continued, When Orochimaru and the 3 generations fought, I was near the venue. Ninjas resurrected through Edo Tensei can recover from injuries in a short period of time, and there is no concept of fatigue. Glancing at Hinata, Kakashi suddenly changed the topic. If we want to inquire about Edo Tensei, it should be easy. Tsunade followed Kakashi's gaze and looked at Hinata. Indeed, Hinata's strength is not the same as last year. During the Jonin exam, Hinata subdued Asuma in one move. Orochimaru is definitely not Hinata's opponent. If Orochimaru and Hinata fight, he will have to use Edo Tensei. But in this way, what was originally a good intelligence gathering has become a mindless crushing. Tsunade rubbed his temples with a headache. If this continues, Shinobu's ninjas will become violent maniacs. It is said that Akai was influenced by Hinata and often used big moves in missions. Well, after thinking about it, Tsunade said lightly, the discussion of Edo Tensei will end here for the time being. After Shinobu's plan collapsed, the village specially studied this ninjutsu. In addition to the user being able to undo the ninjutsu by himself, the sealing technique can also block the movement of the dead. The next content of the meeting was to discuss Orochimaru's various ninjutsu. After having a detailed combat plan, Tsunade arranged the corresponding types of ninjas through the combat plan. Hinata, Kakashi, and Nara Shibusui set out from Shinobu that night and ran in the direction of the Waterfall Country. The Waterfall Country is located between the Land of Fire and the Land of Earth. It is surrounded by 4 countries, and its ninja village is the Waterfall Village. There are many waterfalls in the Waterfall Country, and the huge waterfalls prevent the invasion of other countries. The Waterfall Village is hidden behind one of the big waterfalls. Orochimaru's secret base is also hidden behind one of the waterfalls. Since Shinobu's plan collapsed, Orochimaru can be said to be a super criminal wanted by the ninja world. Shinobu and Sand Hideout want to avenge their respective Kage, and other ninja villages want to get Orochimaru's secret techniques. Even if ordinary ninjas don't dare to do anything to Orochimaru, as long as they know the whereabouts of Orochimaru, the major ninja villages will send experts to pursue Orochimaru. If it's just being wanted by the White Path, it's fine, but Orochimaru betrayed the organizations before. Being chased by both the White Path and the White Path, Orochimaru can still live freely. In addition to his own strength, he also relies on the secret bases all over the ninja world. Before this, no one in the ninja world can find the whereabouts of Orochimaru. Hinata passed by a small town in the Waterfall Country, and observed the life of the town through the Byakugan. The Waterfall Country is a country similar to the Rain Country. Like most small countries, the Waterfall Country is very poor. Once Shinobu and Iwagakure have a war, the waterfall country may become a battlefield. Compared to the rich land of fire, the waterfall country is simply a poor mountain village area. However, the poorer the place, the more thieves and bandits there are. Konoha, Iwagakure, and Waterfall Village all carry out missions in the waterfall country. However, the bandits here seem to be endless, and there's no end to them. Endless bandits, chaotic law and order, high mission rewards, these heavy burdens are on the shoulders of the waterfall country, making it impossible to develop its economy. Chapter 288. Hinata is not a person who likes to think, but sometimes he has to think. As the big boss behind the scenes of the shinobi world, if Hinata doesn't take advantage of these resources, then it would be too unqualified, smiley face. There are indeed a lot of things that can be taken advantage of in the conflict between the small shinobi village and the big shinobi village. Hiding in the woods, Kakashi waved his hand and shot a kunai, nailing a small snake to a tree. The closer they are to Orochimaru's secret base, the more careful they are of snakes, because they are likely to be the eyes of Orochimaru. Hinata, can you see it? According to the information obtained by Shinobu, Hinata's current location is very close to Orochimaru's secret base. Yes. Hinata nodded slightly and explained. There are about 200 people in the base, except for Orochimaru, Apothecary's Pocket, and Sasuke. Orochimaru has about 30 subordinates. The rest of the people are locked in the dungeon. They should be the test subjects caught by Orochimaru. Nara Shinobi frowned and said, "Can we use those people locked in the dungeon by Orochimaru?" Hinata shook his head and said, "No. These people are either criminals to begin with, or they were tortured by Orochimaru until they lost their minds. Just like the prisoners locked in Shinobu's security facility, they are harmless when locked up, but once they are free, they will immediately reveal their true nature. Because the mission this time is to secretly inquire about information." Hinata left Kazekage and Thunder God in the Hyuga residence. Without a younger brother to order, Hinata has become the target of Kakashi. "Shinobi, you stay here and be responsible for guarding." "Hinata, you follow me, first catch someone for interrogation." Hinata couldn't help but complain. Doesn't Kakashi-sensei have his own ninja dogs? Having said that, Kakashi has already sneaked towards Orochimaru's secret base, and Hinata can only follow silently. In less than 2 kilometers, Hinata and Kakashi avoided dozens of snakes and came to a waterfall more than 30 meters high. Hinata whispered, "Kakashi-sensei, after passing through the waterfall, we can enter the secret base of Orochimaru." Kakashi nodded slightly. There are many such waterfalls in the land of waterfalls, some of which are naturally formed, and some of them are artificially excavated. The terrain here is very secretive, and even many perceptive ninjas can't detect the existence of a secret base. Kakashi waved his hand and made a sneak gesture, then rushed into the waterfall and came to the cave behind the waterfall, followed by Hinata. Entering the cave, a pitch-black tunnel greeted their eyes. Hinata and Kakashi cautiously walked towards the depths of the tunnel. After walking for about 50 meters, a man-made stone room appeared in front of Hinata and Kakashi. There are 3 entrances to the stone room, and only one of them is a real passage. The other 2 are used to deceive the enemy, and there are many mechanisms inside. "Kakashi-sensei." Pulling Kakashi's clothes, Hinata whispered, "There is a perceptual barrier in front." Kakashi opened his forehead protector, and through his Sharingan, he could indeed see a thin chakra barrier. Kakashi frowned. Such a perceptual barrier, even if it is broken, it will definitely arouse the vigilance of Orochimaru. Like Orochimaru, a super fugitive who is being hunted by the entire ninja world. Once he discovers danger, Orochimaru will immediately retreat and never reveal his whereabouts again. Hinata also learned some knowledge about barrier ninjutsu some time ago. A perceptual barrier is a very tricky technique. As long as the barrier is touched, even if the barrier is broken, it will definitely arouse the attention of the user. Hinata lowered his voice and said, "Kakashi-sensei, should we retreat? I have a general understanding of the layout of the entire base, enough to arrange a specific combat plan." Kakashi nodded slightly and made a retreat gesture. In fact, it's no wonder that all the major ninja villages want to obtain the Byakugan. For such an infiltration mission, It's really convenient to have the Byakugan. Even the small snake placed by Orochimaru outside the base for surveillance, Hinata can easily detect it. Hinata and Kakashi have already sneaked into the entrance of Orochimaru's base, but the people in the base still didn't notice them. Back in the forest, Nara Shinobi immediately stepped forward and asked, "Kakashi-sensei, what's the situation inside?" Kakashi said in a deep voice, "There is a perceptual barrier in the base, but Hinata has already figured out the terrain of the base, so it's not a problem to arrange a combat plan." "But," Hinata curiously asked, "but what?" "Nothing." Kakashi took out a pen and paper, turned to Hinata and said, "We will describe the specific information of the base in detail, and then pass it to the operation team, and cooperate with them to launch an encirclement and attack." And Hinata nodded. The only thing to pay attention to in the periphery of the base is snakes, in addition to the internal layout of the base, as well as the surrounding environment. The Earth Release ninjas are responsible for blocking the underground, preventing Orochimaru from using Earth Release ninjutsu to escape, including reverse summoning ninjutsu. As long as Orochimaru is not allowed to escape, the rest depends on the strength of both sides. In order to ensure the success of this operation to encircle and capture Orochimaru, Shinobu dispatched many teams, such as Perception Squad, Earth Release Squad, Sealing Squad, Medical Squad, and so on, with more than 100 specific personnel. Most of the ninjas are there to prevent Orochimaru from escaping, and to seal the reincarnation of the dead. The real combat force, including Hinata and the other two, is only about 20 people. To be honest, even Hinata felt that this operation against Orochimaru is quite like an inescapable net. As long as Orochimaru can't break through the encirclement with his strength, only death awaits him. After waiting for about a day near the base, the ninjas of the operation force finally arrived. The Earth Release ninjas have surrounded Orochimaru's secret base from all directions to ensure that Orochimaru can't escape from the underground. Yamanaka Inoichi walked to Kakashi and asked, "Kakashi, what's the situation?" Kakashi shook his head and said, "There is a perception barrier in the base, and we can't detect the situation inside for the time being. But for now, Orochimaru hasn't noticed our actions." Yamanaka Inoichi nodded and analyzed. "If we don't consider the Edo Tensei, Orochimaru's strength isn't strong. I want to organize an elite team to sneak in, and I'll lead the main force to form an encirclement to prevent Orochimaru from escaping." Yamanaka Inoichi is the commander of this operation. In addition to commanding the operation, his task is to explore the secrets of Orochimaru's brain after Orochimaru's death. Bringing Orochimaru back to Shinobu is too much of a variable, so Tsunade decided that as long as Orochimaru is killed, he will immediately explore his memory. Kakashi nodded. "I think it's okay. If it's a sneak attack, let me and Hinata act together." Yamanaka Inoichi. "I think so too." Chapter 289. Hinata had always performed tasks in the form of a team before. This was the first time that Hinata had participated in such a small-scale ninja battle. Although the scale of Shinobu's collapse plan was much larger than this time, Hinata was just a genin at that time, and he didn't know how Shinobu planned it. It was also the first time that Hinata directly felt the horror of the war machine of the ninja village. Orochimaru's greatest ability was to escape. Although Hinata had enough confidence to defeat Orochimaru, he couldn't guarantee that he would be able to kill Orochimaru. But when Shinobu launched a plan against all of Orochimaru's ninjutsu, Hinata really felt that Orochimaru had no way to escape. As long as Shinobu had the power to resist Orochimaru, Orochimaru would definitely die here today. In the original work, the ninja allied forces didn't seem to be of much use, and they had no resistance against the Jubi. However, the ninja allied forces cooperated with each other and held back the Jubi, buying precious time for Naruto. However, Hinata had to tell the truth. If Orochimaru was really in his heyday, even if he could only exert the power of his heyday for a short period of time, Shinobu would only be able to watch Orochimaru slaughter and retreat calmly without Hinata. The Edo Tensei is not a joke. Elite jonin like Kakashi and Yamanaka Inoichi can only barely protect themselves. Kakashi found Hinata and told Yamanaka Inoichi's battle plan. The two once again sneaked towards Orochimaru's secret base. In front of the stone room, Hinata turned to look at Kakashi. "What should we do?" Kakashi lowered his voice and said, "The outside has been surrounded. We will rush in directly and seriously injure Orochimaru before he can react, and test his ability." Hinata nodded, regardless of the perception barrier, and ran towards the room where Orochimaru was. Deep in the base, Orochimaru and Apothecary's Pocket were doing forbidden technique experiments. Orochimaru's hands couldn't move, so he could only command Apothecary's Pocket to operate the experiment. Apothecary's Pocket also took the opportunity to absorb Orochimaru's knowledge, and frantically enriched himself. Dead. Under his glasses, Medicine Master Pocket's eyes were calm. It was common for test subjects to die during experiments. Ha 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 ha. Orochimaru laughed sinisterly. This is the fun of the experiment, to find the only success in countless failures. When you find success in the midst of countless failures, you will be able to enjoy that indescribable sense of accomplishment. Apothecary's Pocket said lightly. That's true, but the corrosion of Hashirama's cells is too strong. At present, he can only be used as a sacrifice. In order to improve the power of the Edo Tensei, Orochimaru thought of Hashirama's cells. The dead resurrected by the sacrifice that fused with Hashirama's cells are stronger than ordinary sacrifices. If Hashirama's cells were fused with himself, he would be able to strengthen the control of the Edo Tensei. However, Orochimaru was still unable to fuse with Hashirama's cells. The only two successful cases were Danzo and Yamato. Danzo relied on a large number of Sharingan to suppress the corrosion of Hashirama's cells, and Yamato's success was too coincidental. There wasn't much value in learning from it. What's more, even if Orochimaru wanted to study Yamato, he couldn't do it now. Pocket, we have to go out after a while. Apothecary's Pocket said respectfully. Yes. Orochimaru-sama, I will go down and prepare immediately. During this time, Orochimaru often went out to collect some cells of the dead, and occasionally inquired about the information of Senju and Uchiha. The experience of joining the organizations allowed Orochimaru to see the existence of Rinnegan. Since then, Orochimaru has been tracking the deeds of Rikudo Sennin, wanting to crack the secrets of Rikudo Sennin. Orochimaru frowned, and his whole body became vigilant. Apothecary's Pocket looked at Orochimaru doubtfully. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue and licked his lips, his eyes were cold, and his tone was playful. Pocket, 2 little mice came in, you go to Sasuke. Apothecary's Pocket said calmly. If it's just little mice, let me deal with it. Orochimaru said coldly. This time it's not an ordinary little mouse. Pocket, you can't deal with it. After saying that, Orochimaru walked out of the laboratory unhurriedly, and walked towards the location of the intruders. Da-da-da. In the quiet corridor, only the sound of Orochimaru's unhurried footsteps could be heard. After turning the corner, the figures of Hinata and Kakashi were reflected in Orochimaru's snake eyes. Hinata, we meet again. Orochimaru was very excited, but Hinata and Kakashi didn't want to talk to him at all. Kakashi's hand lit up, and under the stimulation of the thunder attribute chakra, Kakashi's speed became extremely fast in an instant, and his whole body turned into an afterimage and rushed towards Orochimaru. Raikiri. Kakashi was very confident that his Raikiri will absolutely not be able to do anything to Orochimaru, but Orochimaru will also have to go all out to deal with it. In this way, he can create an opportunity for Hinata to make a move. Kakashi was very clear that Hinata is not the kind of ninja who is good at luring the enemy, so the job of luring the enemy can only be done by Kakashi. Hinata used to be able to lure the enemy with her harmless appearance, but today, no one in the ninja world believes that Hinata is a soft and cute girl. His left Sharingan looked directly at Orochimaru's eyes, and the Genjutsu of the Sharingan was also launched at the same time. Boom. A giant chakra hand grabbed Kakashi from behind and pulled Kakashi behind Hinata. Kakashi. Hinata released chakra from all the acupoints of his body, and the pirated version of Susanoo instantly opened. grabbing Kakashi with one hand and aiming at Orochimaru with the other. Under the dual perception of the Byakugan and natural energy, Hinata was very sure that the Orochimaru in front of him was the real one. This jutsu is... Orochimaru was stunned. What is this jutsu? Uncle Snake, goodbye. Senjutsu, Demon Beam Cannon. A spiral chakra beam with a diameter of 1 meter shot out from the pirated version of Susanu's hand, and the condensed chakra instantly shattered Orochimaru's body. Hinata manipulated the pirated version of Susanu's hand into the air, and the spiral beam rose into the sky like a huge chakra sword, instantly cutting Orochimaru's base and the entire mountain in half. It's not over yet. Orochimaru's upper body suddenly opened its mouth, and a wet Orochimaru crawled out of its mouth. Hinata roared, and was about to use the demon beam cannon again to completely kill Orochimaru. Not even a single cell will be left. Die. The pirated version of Susanu's hand once again aimed at Orochimaru. Boom! A huge stone fell. As if a chain reaction, as the first stone fell, the entire base collapsed instantly, and dense stones fell from the sky, burying Hinata, Kakashi, and Orochimaru at the same time. From the inside, it seemed that only the base collapsed. But from the outside, the combat force led by Yamanaka Inoichi was stunned. Who can tell me what happened in the base? Chapter 290. Yamanaka Inoichi has led Shinobu Ninja to complete the final encirclement of Orochimaru's base. In all directions, except for the sky that was not blocked, there was almost no gap left around. Unless he had wings, Orochimaru could never escape. At least, that was what it looked like on the surface. After completing all the arrangements, Yamanaka Inoichi only needed to wait patiently for Hinata and Kakashi to probe Orochimaru's intelligence. The intelligence of the base can only allow Yamanaka Inoichi to complete the encirclement of the base. To deal with a ninja like Orochimaru, he must understand Orochimaru's ability. Yamanaka Inoichi has absolute confidence in Kakashi. This younger generation has grown very quickly in recent years, and is a ninja worthy of trust. Just waiting for Kakashi and Hinata to come out of Orochimaru's base, Orochimaru will usher in his doomsday. However, the first thing that came out was a spiral chakra ray. The spiral ray with a diameter of 1 meter was so long that he couldn't see the end of it. It first broke through the ground, and then swept to the sky. The whole mountain was instantly split in half, and then quickly collapsed. Yamanaka Inoichi also deliberately looked up. Even the clouds in the sky were swept by the aftermath of the spiral ray, and began to spread in all directions. What the hell is this ninjutsu? Yamanaka Inoichi's forehead was full of cold sweat, and his back was even colder. Fortunately, this move swept to the sky. If it swept along the horizon, this ninjutsu can wipe out a town in an instant. A ninja village like Shinobu will be razed to the ground in one move. Almost no ninja can resist this move. Yamanaka Inoichi also stood with a dozen jonin and umbu. A purple-haired umbu whispered, "This should be Hinata's jutsu." Hinata. Has she grown to this level? As his daughter's fellow ninja, and a good friend of her, Yamanaka Inoichi was no stranger to Hinata. In the past, Yamanaka Inoichi only knew that Hinata was a genius ninja, with eyes far beyond the ordinary Hyuga family ninja, and was promoted to jonin by the village at a young age. However, Yamanaka Inoichi only heard a little about Hinata's strength. It was said that he had grown to the level of Kakashi, but now that he had seen it with his own eyes, Kakashi's level? Was Kakashi that powerful? This is no longer the power of a ninja, it's more like a humanoid-tailed beast. Yamanaka Inoichi couldn't help but complain. Hinata is too reckless. The purple-haired umbu glanced at Yamanaka Inoichi and said lightly, "Get used to it." In the ruins, Hinata and Kakashi were crushed under a large pile of rocks. If it wasn't for Chakra's protection, the two of them would have been crushed to pieces in an instant. "Hinata, pull me to your side." Kakashi's voice came faintly. He wanted to take Hinata to leave here using Earth Release Ninjutsu. Don't worry, Hinata was absorbing natural energy. Hinata, who has mastered the Sage Mode cultivation method, can control the natural energy in the natural world and use it. Orochimaru can't die here. Both Hinata and Black Zetsu must use Orochimaru's ability to do something. Black Zetsu wanted to get the other half of the 9 tails in Minato's body. Hinata wanted to absorb Kimimara's chakra. And the only person in the entire ninja world who can do this is Orochimaru. Although Black Zetsu said that Nagato would come to support Orochimaru, Hinata couldn't find Nagato's whereabouts with his Byakugan and natural perception. Therefore, Hinata could only destroy the mountain to create a chance for Orochimaru to escape. Anyway, in Black Zetsu's plan, as long as Shinobu forces a little, and Pain personally invites Orochimaru to return to the organizations is very likely. Compress natural energy to the extreme, and then burst out suddenly. Rumble. The collapsed mountain exploded instantly, and countless stones were pushed by the explosive force, like a meteor shower in all directions. Yamanaka Inoichi was shocked and shouted again and again, "Get out of the way!" Rumble. Bang bang bang. The stones all over the sky hit the ground like a rainstorm, and the shock wave of the natural energy explosion swept in all directions. Many Shinobu ninjas were affected, and many ninjas were hit by stones and suffered minor injuries. Yamanaka Inoichi shouted, "Medical class!" In the smoke, a streamer quickly rushed to the sky. Hinata flapped his chakra wings and pulled Kakashi with a chakra hand, and the two flew into the air together. Even the 5 elements mountain can't suppress me. In Hinata's perception, Shinobu's encirclement has a flaw. With Orochimaru's ability, if he wants to escape, it's easy. Orochi-san, do you see the Pacific Ocean? That's the water I gave you. Hinata was so ruthless this time. And Shinobu won't doubt Hinata. After all, Hinata has always been reckless. Byakugan's sight passed through the ruins below. Huh. What's that? Not only did Orochimaru not run, but he used Orochimaru's body substitution technique to heal his injuries, and with the help of Apothecary's pocket, he summoned 2 coffins, looking like he wanted to fight Hinata to the death. After helping Orochimaru use Edo Tensei, Apothecary's pocket took the unconscious Sasuke and hid. Hinata also clearly saw Orochimaru's pair of snake eyes staring at him, and he excitedly stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. Orochi-san, you're wasting my feelings. Hinata was very upset. Landing on the ground with Kakashi, Hinata manipulated natural energy to blow away the nearby smoke and dust. Orochi-san, long time no see. Hinata waved his hand enthusiastically, as if they were very familiar with each other. Kakashi stared at Orochimaru and said in a serious tone, "Edo Tensei." Turning his gaze to Hinata, Kakashi reminded him, "This is not Orochimaru's limit. That time with Shinobu, he was prepared to summon 3 undead at the beginning. But we can't rule out the possibility that because of his injuries, he can't control 3 undead at the same time." Orochimaru looked coldly at Kakashi and said in a dark voice, "Are you trying to test me? Although you're an elite ninja who has risen to fame in recent years, your mentality is far worse than Hinata's. Look at her, she doesn't care about this at all." Kakashi MP. If I had as much chakra as Hinata, I wouldn't care. For Kakashi, who lacks mana all year round, and is used to calculating carefully, what he's best at is calculating every step in a battle. But this is also the fundamental reason why many people are so afraid of Kakashi. In the original work, facing Kakashi who was pressed under the ruins, with only his chest exposed, Pain said, "You're too dangerous," indicating that he didn't want to get close to Kakashi. In fact, Kakashi did hide his last killing move at that time. If Pain approached Kakashi at that time, he might have been killed by Kakashi's Kamui. Kakashi looked at Orochimaru vigilantly. Although he didn't understand anything from Orochimaru's words, Kakashi also knew that the current state was far from Orochimaru's true limit. Chapter 291. After despising Kakashi, Orochimaru turned his gaze to Hinata. "What a wonderful body. In order to get you, I didn't hesitate to expose all my cards." After saying that, Orochimaru excitedly stuck out his tongue. Looking at Hinata, Orochimaru awkwardly retracted his tongue. Hinata felt a chill run down her spine, and she was no longer interested in playing this game with Orochimaru. "I knew it, the whole shinobi world is coveting my body." Pointing his index finger at Orochimaru, Hinata loudly accused, "Hentai." The original purpose of the Edo Tensei was to test the enemy's intelligence in battle, and at the same time, it was used to perish together with the enemy. Tobirama's feelings for Hashirama should be very complicated. Tobirama has admiration for his brother, but at the same time, he can feel the great pressure from his brother. It's just like Sasuke's feelings for Itachi when he was a child. Hashirama is too powerful, and Tobirama is the younger brother of Hashirama, the second generation of Shinobu Naruto, and he needs to shoulder a great responsibility. Tobirama doesn't have a sage body, nor does he have a wood release, so he can only improve his strength by studying forbidden techniques. Tobirama is a super genius whose talent is comparable to Orochimaru. In terms of creativity, even Orochimaru is far inferior to Tobirama. This has led to many dangerous forbidden techniques being developed by Tobirama. Hinata is still very interested in the Edo Tensei, but this technique has been completely banned by Shinobu, and no one can learn it. Who is it summoning? Hinata was a little curious. The previous generations of Naruto were swallowed into the stomach of the Shinigami, and Orochimaru shouldn't be able to find Uchiha Madara's body. In the original work, Apothecary's Pocket also found Uchiha Madara's body with the help of Black Zetsu and summoned Uchiha Madara. The coffin lid slowly opened, revealing the figure inside. Orochimaru's pair of snake eyes looked at Hinata with some playfulness, and said, "To deal with a ninja like you, ordinary people can't do it." Kakashi's pupil shrank. As a veteran jonin of Shinobu, Kakashi has long known the information of some famous ninjas in the world. Moreover, in order to deal with Orochimaru's Edo Tensei, Konoha deliberately turned over some information about dead ninjas. The second generation Tsuchikage, and the 3 generations Reikage. Orochimaru showed a trace of pride and said, "Shinobu's preparation this time is indeed sufficient. But how are you going to deal with a ninja who can fly?" And the 3 generations Reikage fought with 10,000 ninjas for 3 days and 3 nights before he died because of exhaustion. Kakashi's eyes were dignified to the extreme. He really didn't expect Orochimaru to have such a card in his hand. Although Shinobu's preparation this time was sufficient, it was not worth mentioning for Orochimaru. In the distance, Yamanaka and Noichi also learned the information of Orochimaru from the Perceptive Ninja's report. To be honest, Yamanaka and Noichi, who was full of confidence when he came, had no confidence at this moment. "I just don't know how much strength these 2 Kage can exert in their heyday. The only fortunate thing at present is that the dead resurrected through Edo Tensei can only exert a part of their strength before they were born." After calming down, Yamanaka and Noichi said in a deep voice, "SEAL Squad, be ready to support Kakashi and the others at any time. Medical retreat to the back of the team." "Yes. Others." After Kakashi and Hinata probe the information of Orochimaru and the 2 Kage, "We will immediately go to support them." "Yes." At present, if Yamanaka and Noichi and the others intervene rashly, they will indeed become a burden to Hinata. Orochimaru chuckled and said, "Let's try this trick first." After putting 2 seals into the bodies of the second generation Tsuchikage and the 3 generations Reikage, the second generation Tsuchikage and the 3 generations Reikage opened their eyes at the same time and looked at Hinata and Kakashi blankly. Hinata was a little relieved. At least, the current Orochimaru can't reach the level of Apothecary's Pocket in the manga. After all, Orochimaru can't use Sage Mode, and he didn't integrate with Hashirama's cells. He can't restore the power of the dead to their heyday. The second generation Tsuchikage slowly floated in the air and quickly printed with his hands, then made a seal aimed at Hinata and Kakashi. Orochimaru said, "As long as you don't destroy the eyes and leave a part of the cells, it's okay." Orochimaru now wants to reincarnate into Sasuke's body. Although Hinata's strength was beyond Orochimaru's expectation, Hinata's eyes didn't have any special ability. "Be careful," Kakashi warned loudly. "This should be the dust release of the Tsuchikage of the Rock Village." Hinata didn't dare to underestimate the power of the dust release. He and Kakashi dodged, and Hinata also jumped into the air. The second generation Tsuchikage's hands were aimed at Kakashi, but before he could do anything, Hinata already destroyed Void's body. Too slow. Hinata was a little relieved. The casting speed of the dust release was extremely slow, especially at this moment. The second-generation Tsuchikage couldn't use his full power, so the casting speed of the dust release was ridiculously slow. Maybe he couldn't use it at all. In this case, the second-generation Tsuchikage was no threat. Orochimaru looked at Hinata and chuckled. Don't be too careless, I have two people on my side. The three generations Raikage's body flashed with lightning as he silently approached Hinata, and his left hand was aimed at Hinata's back. Boom. The chakra wings behind Hinata flapped, and the three generations Raikage was hit by Hinata like a rubber ball. Hinata calmly looked at Orochimaru and proudly said, "Sneak attacks don't work on me." Orochimaru, if that's all you've got, then say goodbye to the world. In a short 2 fights, Hinata has roughly tested the ability of the Edo Tensei. Although the second-generation Tsuchikage and the three generations Raikage's techniques were troublesome, they were far from the level of a Kage. At most, they were at the level of a quasi-Kage. Their movements were slow, and some powerful ninjutsu couldn't be used. And Orochimaru's ninjutsu system wasn't strong. At most, it was unpredictable, insidious and vicious, with both hands aimed at Orochimaru. The spiral chakra beam with a diameter of 10 centimeters instantly shot out. Orochimaru was vigilant to the extreme, and at the moment Hinata attacked, he wanted to dodge. Puchi. The speed of the spiral beam was extremely fast, and even if Orochimaru was prepared, the spiral beam still shattered the right half of his body. Hinata's hands moved, and the spiral beam swept across, instantly cutting Orochimaru's body and drawing a deep mark on the ground. Orochimaru opened his mouth, and a black shadow quickly rushed out of his mouth and moved quickly on the ground like a snake, and in the blink of an eye, he pulled away from Hinata. Zizi. A harsh sound came, and Kakashi and the three generations Raikage were fighting. Although Kakashi was at a disadvantage, he wouldn't be defeated in a short time. Flapping the wings behind him, Hinata chased after Orochimaru. When passing by the second-generation Tsuchikage, Hinata waved his hand again, and the second-generation Tsuchikage who was about to fully recover was smashed again. Seal. Reminding Yamanaka Inoichi, Hinata sped up to chase after Orochimaru. Chapter 292. Orochimaru quickly shuttled through the rubble in a strange crawling way, and in just a few seconds, he opened the distance between him and Hinata. In fact, when Hinata made his first move, Orochimaru knew that Hinata was no longer the kid who ran away as soon as he saw him in the forest of death. Hinata has fully grown up, but Orochimaru is an extremely conceited person. Even if he lost his hands, even if he was defeated by Itachi Uchiha's Sharingan, Orochimaru still believes that he can become the strongest person in the shinobi world, obtain the ability to live forever, and master the truth of the world. So before he really fought, Orochimaru doesn't think that he can't beat Hinata at this moment. It seems that ordinary sacrifices are useless. I have to use a stronger sacrifice. Orochimaru quickly fled in the direction of Apothecary's pocket. After such a long delay, Kabuto should have already prepared the ritual, using the sacrifice fused with Hashirama's cells to perform the Edo Tensei. Although it can resurrect a stronger dead person, the possibility of losing control is also high. Before solving the problem of control, Orochimaru doesn't want to rush to summon such a dead person. However, at this moment, Orochimaru didn't have time to think about it. Orochimaru wants to study Hinata's eyes and body, but at the same time, he doesn't want to die in Hinata's hands, so he can only take a risk. High benefits are accompanied by high risks. Orochimaru is very clear about his current situation. However, in order to get Hinata's body, Orochimaru thinks that it's worth taking a little risk. That's why Orochimaru didn't choose to escape from the beginning, but used the second Tsuchikage and the three generations Raikage to test Hinata's ability. Orochimaru-sama. Apothecary's pocket has already prepared the Edo Tensei ritual, and after seeing Orochimaru, he immediately stood aside. Orochimaru crawled on the ground like a snake and came to Apothecary's pocket, and with his hands barely forming hand seals he shouted, "Edo Tensei! 3 resurrection rituals, 3 sacrifices." The soil on the ground quickly spread towards the sacrifices, and gradually condensed into the shape of a human. In the distance, the 3 generations Reikage and the second Suchikage who were fighting collapsed instantly. A layer of dust fell from their bodies and turned into 2 other people. Kakashi panted slightly as he looked into the distance and asked in a deep voice, "What happened over there? Did Orochimaru escape?" Yamanaka and Noichi frowned. "It shouldn't be. Let's go and see." Hinata stopped in the air. He glanced at the 3 sacrifices, and they were almost completely consumed by the white thing. It was the same color as white Zetsu. "Did you fuse with Hashirama's cells?" Hinata didn't act rashly. After all, Orochimaru couldn't die here for nothing. Moreover, within the range of the Byakugan, Hinata could not find Pain's whereabouts. Even Absolute was not there. What the hell is going on? If this goes on, Orochimaru will really be killed by me. Hinata was impatient. Black Zetsu was too unreliable. Screams came out from the sacrificial offerings' mouths. The soil completely swallowed them up, and colors slowly appeared. The 3 sacrificial offerings turned into the appearance of the other 3 people. In addition to the second Suchikage and the 3 generations Reikage, there was also the 3 generations Kazekage. "Is this Edo Tensei?" The second Suchikage looked back at Orochimaru and said with slight appreciation, "Young man, did you use Edo Tensei to resurrect us?" Edo Tensei? The 3 generations Reikage and the 3 generations Kazekage were slightly confused. In their era, there was no legend of Edo Tensei. Looking back at Orochimaru, the 3 generations Kazekage was slightly angry. Orochimaru held Apothecary's pocket and gasped slightly. It took all of Orochimaru's energy to control these 3 people without losing control. "There's no need for small talk. I didn't summon you to listen to your idle chatter." Orochimaru looked up at Hinata. His eyes flashed coldly and said, "The second round begins." The second Suchikage looked up at Hinata and said with slight surprise, "It turned out to be a little girl. Amazing." The 3 generations Reikage shouted angrily, "Hey! Hurry up and kill the guy who is controlling us." Orochimaru's face changed slightly. These 3 people didn't attack immediately. Although they couldn't move freely, they were obviously resisting Orochimaru's control. "It's really troublesome," Orochimaru thought to himself. "I must solve the problem of controlling them as soon as possible." Hinata looked at the 3 Kages with great interest and said with bad intentions, "I say, the 3 of you are at least the Kage who stood at the peak of the ninja world. Can't you break free from this ninjutsu with your own willpower? You guys are too weak." The 3 generations Kazekage said angrily, "Don't provoke us, or I will kill you first." The second Suchikage proposed. "She is a ninja of the shinobu. Although she doesn't want to be controlled, if we kill her, it will be good for our village, right?" The 3 generations Reikage's expression changed as he was quite tempted by the second Suchikage's proposal. Hinata originally wanted to provoke the 3 Kages and stimulate their self-esteem as Kages and forcibly break free from the control of the Edo Tensei. However, Hinata forgot that this is not the time of the 4th Shinobu World War. Seeing the genius ninja of the Shinobu clan, they obviously wanted to kill them, far away from the battlefield. It's a very interesting ninjutsu. The previous Tobirama couldn't do it to this extent. White Zetsu was a little curious. Is it because of the use of Hashirama's cells? Black Zetsu analyzed. It should be. Tobirama wouldn't casually desecrate Hashirama's body. Even if it's for research, he wouldn't transplant Hashirama's cells into the sacrifice of the Edo Tensei. It seems that we have underestimated this ninjutsu before. After a moment of silence, Black Zetsu continued. If this jutsu is further perfected, maybe we can summon Uchiha Madara. White Zetsu frowned. Didn't you say that you want to resurrect Madara with the reincarnation technique? Black Zetsu said in a deep voice. Nagato and Bordered Soil have their own ideas, and they may not act according to our plan. The safest way is to resurrect Uchiha Madara in the form of the Edo Tensei, and then use Madara's power. And the Rinnegan is originally Madara's eyes. He is the most suitable sacrifice besides Hinata. White Zetsu looked at the battlefield in the distance and joked. They are going to fight. If we don't act, maybe one of them will be killed by the other side. Black Zetsu said. Go back and inform Nagato. On a mountain farther from the battlefield, in a big tree formed by pieces of paper, Zetsu slowly stretched half of his body from the ground. Orochimaru has been forced to use his full strength, and even the ability of the Edo Tensei has been further strengthened by Orochimaru. He can almost exert all the strength of the dead when he was alive. White Zetsu reported. Orochimaru does seem to be more valuable than Deidara. Bordered Soil scolded. Zetsu, you have to be sad for your dead companions. After that, Bordered Soil turned to look at Nagato and said in a deep voice. When Orochimaru and Shinobu win, we will act immediately. Nagato's eyes were cold, and in a dark corner, Pain of Six Paths opened his eyes at the same time. Chapter 293. Konan looked at Nagato, and she wanted to say something. Although Nagato kept saying that he wouldn't be used by Madara, and he had enough confidence in the Rinnegan. But Konan always felt that it was Madara who was using Nagato, not Nagato who was using Madara. Unlike Konan, Nagato was an easily fooled kid. Look at Nagato's life. Nagato witnessed the death of his parents when he was very young, and he deeply understood the darkness of the world. But at the same time, Nagato awakened the Rinnegan, the Six-Path Sage's dojutsu. Later on, there was an old grandpa named Jiraiya. This was simply the life of a protagonist, almost the same as Naruto. After Yahiko's death, Madara found Nagato and pushed him to the position of god. Who was Uchiha Madara? He was a ninja who was as famous as Hashirama, the god of ninja. He once joined forces with Hashirama to establish the Shinobu Hidden Village and ended the war of the ninja world. When Bordered Soil used the identity of Uchiha Madara to say that Nagato would be the next Six-Path Sage. What would Nagato, who had experienced the Dark Age and had the Rinnegan, choose? Nagato didn't have any experience. Therefore, he believed in Madara's words. If one were to interpret it from the perspective of the 21st century, it would be like one of the founders of the 5 major countries, saying to the leader of an Al-Qaeda organization that he would rule the world in the future and become the supreme god. And I will be your help, and help you realize your dream. Therefore, Nagato became complacent. He believed that he was a god, the next Rakuto Sannin. Therefore, Nagato couldn't afford to fail. Without the identity of a god, Nagato would re-examine himself from the perspective of a mortal. In this way, Nagato would remember Jiraiya's teachings, and he would re-understand Yahiko's ideals. Black Zetsu looked around and said faintly, I'm going to collect information. Black Zetsu wanted to find an opportunity to remind Hinata that Nagato couldn't fail. After experiencing the Kagaya period, Black Zetsu was very clear about what Nagato's Rinnegan was. In addition to the Tendo and Geto abilities, and the ability to absorb chakra, the other abilities were simply an insult to the reputation of the Rinnegan. What's more, the Rinnegan wasn't Nagato's. Just like the Sharingan was a burden to Kakashi, the Rinnegan was also a burden to Nagato. Fortunately, Nagato's mother was an Uzumaki, and Nagato also inherited the bloodline of the Uzumaki clan. His strong vitality and chakra allowed him to use the Rinnegan ability. And Hinata is best at Senjutsu, but Nagato can't absorb Senjutsu chakra at all. What's more, Black Zetsu guessed that Hinata had absorbed Otsutsuki's power before. What ability did Hinata obtain from Otsutsuki? Black Zetsu didn't know until now. Therefore, in Black Zetsu's view, Nagato was no match for Hinata. His body sank into the ground, and Ju quickly traveled underground, arriving near the battlefield. Boom! The spiral light flashed, and the second Tsuchikage slowly appeared. The left half of his body was completely broken, and the flying dust quickly repaired his injury. Amazing! You can find me in my invisible state. The second Tsuchikage looked deeply at Hinata and praised. The Hyuga clan actually produced a ninja like you. The second Tsuchikage's murderous intent was revealed. Sure enough, I have to kill you. The 3 Kages were resurrected using the sacrifice of Hashirama's cells. Although Orochimaru's control over them wasn't strong, it gave the 3 Kages an excuse. Although it was a bit shameful for the 3 Kages to gang up on a little girl, How could a ninja care too much about face? With the excuse of being controlled. The three Kages could join forces to deal with Hinata without any psychological burden. This was really shameless. Hinata was only 13 years old, and she was still a little lowly. The second Tsuchikage formed a seal with his hands, and aimed at Hinata. In the middle of his hands, a bright white transparent cube exuded a bright light. Hinata waved her hand and wanted to shoot the magic beam cannon. But the iron sand came like rain, and Hinata had no choice but to flap her wings to avoid it. Whoosh! With a flash of lightning, the three generations Reikage stepped on the iron sand and flashed in front of Hinata in a row, aiming at Hinata's heart. The three generations Reikage in front of him was on a completely different level from the previous one who was resurrected using ordinary sacrifice. The three generations Reikage was worthy of being a man who could fight the Hachibi. Before, he was hit by Hinata's gentle fist, but he only suffered a minor injury. Even if Hinata's natural chakra was extremely condensed, the three generations Reikage speed was still extremely fast. Hinata didn't have time to dodge, and could only condense chakra into a shield in front of him. Kacha! The three generations Reikage retracted one of his fingers, and changed the four-sword hand into the three-sword hand. Hinata's chakra shield was like broken glass, and dense cracks appeared on it. The chakra under his feet shot out. Hinata jumped into the air, and avoided the attack of the three generations Reikage before the chakra shield was broken. The bright white light was dazzling, and the second Tsuchikage aimed at Hinata. Humph! Hinata curled his lips and could only use chakra to avoid the attack range of the Tsuchikage release. It's too disgusting. The three Kages could almost exert their full combat power at their peak, and with the immortal characteristic of the Edo Tensei and unlimited chakra, they were even stronger than when they were alive. To be honest, if the three Kages couldn't recover infinitely, Hinata might really be able to defeat them one by one. However, under the cooperation of the three Kages, they didn't give Hinata a chance to seal them, and they often used the method of mutual destruction, which made Hinata feel disgusted. If Hinata didn't avoid the three generations Reikage, the second Tsuchikage's dust release was aimed at both of them. Anyway, the three generations Reikage wouldn't die again. Although the iron sand of the three generations Reikage could only occasionally harass Hinata, the three generations Reikage used the iron sand to form a platform in the air for the three generations Reikage to move in the air. The second Tsuchikage was also a ninja who could fly. Orochimaru and Apothecary's Pocket were hiding behind the three generations Reikage. As long as Hinata flew over, Orochimaru would immediately control the three generations Reikage to use the iron sand to defend. Hinata's eyes were dignified. This time he was really caught in a hard battle. He didn't expect Orochimaru to be so powerful. Hinata glanced at the three Kages, and his heart began to feel excited. Although it was a hard battle, Hinata hadn't experienced many such battles since his debut. And after the guidance of Sunflower and the future Sasuke, Hinata's combat experience wasn't bad. At the very least, Hinata was now able to seize the opportunity in battle. The only way to break the blockade of the three Kages was to break them one by one, and use the sealing technique at the moment of breaking each other. In fact, the weakest of the three Kages was the second Tsuchikage, whose invisibility ability was seen through by Hinata. However, the three generations Reikage actually had a huge flaw, and that was the scar on his right chest. As long as he was forced to use the Ishigan Jutsu and then stabbed at full speed, Hinata hoped to take the opportunity to counterattack and then seal him. Chapter 294. Near the battlefield, Kakashi, Yamanaka Inoichi, and others looked at the battle in the air in the distance with solemn faces. With the strength of Kakashi and Yamanaka Inoichi, it's not that they can't participate in this level of battle, but they don't have the ability to fight in the air. It seems that Orochimaru really didn't use his full strength before. This level of Edo Tensei is almost the same as the dead when he was alive. Kakashi said in a deep voice, but controlling three people at the same time should be Orochimaru's limit. Yamanaka Inoichi agreed. Although I don't know the principle of jutsu, fortunately, Shodame-sama has been sealed by the three generations. Compared with the previous Edo Tensei, it's not at the same level. If Hashirama can also restore his peak combat power, it will be a disaster for Shinobu. Yamanaka Inoichi looked into the distance and said to Kakashi, "We can't intervene in the battle between Hinata and Kage for the time being, but Orochimaru. Kakashi, cooperate with me." Kakashi nodded. Understood. Yamanaka clan's secret jutsu to control Orochimaru's body and unlock Edo Tensei is the only thing Yamanaka Inoichi, Kakashi, and others can do at present. Yamanaka Inoichi pointed to a few strong jonin and umbu, waved his hand and shouted, "Action!" On the other side, the three generations Reikage stepped on the iron sand and rushed towards Hinata at a very fast speed. Hinata's nerves were also stretched to the extreme. Through the battle just now, the three generations Reikage obviously knew very well that the power of Sanbon Thrust alone can't break Hinata's chakra defense in an instant. Not to mention that Hinata also has the stronger defensive power of Revolving Heaven. Therefore, the three generations Reikage can only use Sanbon Thrust. Three generations of Kazekage controlled the iron sand to form countless iron spikes in the air, blocking Hinata's movement space. Although these iron spikes were unable to break through Hinata's defenses, they were still able to cause quite a bit of trouble for Hinata. The second Tsuchikage flew to a higher position than Hinata and formed a seal with both hands aiming at Hinata, ready to launch a fatal blow. Da-da-da. Three generations of Reikage jumped into the air and rushed toward Hinata. His left hand pointed at Hinata, and his three fingers turned into one. Sure enough, it was an even more powerful Itsuhan Inigimo. Hinata condensed a large amount of chakra in his eyes, pushing his natural perception to the maximum. The distance between them narrowed in an instant. During the battle, the closer one got to Hinata, the stronger the air resistance. However, the speed of the three generations of Reikage was still extremely fast. Hinata's left body spurted out chakra and instantly dodged the three generations of Reikage Sanbon Thrust, and his right hand gently patted the left arm of the three generations of Reikage. Pa. Puchi. The three generations of Reikage bent his left arm and stabbed his right chest. The lightning chakra instantly penetrated the body of the three generations of Reikage and came out from the back of the three generations of Reikage. There is still such a trick. The second Tsuchikage was surprised. So this is how the injury came about. The accident in front of him only made the second Tsuchikage stunned for a moment, and he instantly condensed the dust in his hand and shot it toward Hinata. However, this moment was enough for Hinata to react. Chakra stretched out from his abdomen and grabbed the three generations of Reikage and slammed the three generations of Reikage down. Hinata spurted chakra with all his strength and accelerated toward the falling three generations of Reikage. Dust release failed again, and Hinata also caught up with the three generations of Reikage. Taking out 4 blank scrolls from the ninja bag, Hinata controlled the scrolls to wrap the three generations of Reikage's body and put the seal on the three generations of Reikage. The seal was completed. He has grown a lot. Orochimaru's eyes flashed with excitement. The last time he fought in the Shinobu village, Hinata wasn't this strong. Hinata's growth was not only in her hardcore strength, but also in her combat experience. The last time he fought with Kimimaro, Hinata was suppressed by Hinata. Such talent. It's a pity, Orochimaru said with some regret. If it weren't for Sasuke, Hinata would be the body that Orochimaru dreamed of. Orochimaru knew very well that the ability of the Sharingan wasn't as simple as Mangekyo. So in contrast, Hinata's body wasn't as attractive to him. Well, this feeling. Orochimaru's hands trembled and began to gather, as if he wanted to form some kind of seal. Yamanaka Inoichi pointed his hands at Orochimaru and shouted, "Ninjutsu, mind confusion jutsu." Orochimaru, don't underestimate the power of the Yamanaka clan. Mind confusion jutsu is a ninjutsu that uses one's own spiritual force to disturb the opponent's mind and actions. Even if the opponent is conscious, it can make them do things they don't want to do. Orochimaru-sama. Apothecary's Pocket exclaimed and wanted to help Orochimaru break this jutsu. Don't move. Kakashi instantly blocked in front of Apothecary's Pocket, lightning flashed in his hands, and his eyes stared at Apothecary's Pocket. Yamanaka Inoichi looked at Orochimaru and said, "Orochimaru, release the Edo Tensei." I have found your weakness. After invading Orochimaru's spiritual world, Yamanaka Inoichi naturally found Orochimaru's broken soul. Orochimaru's living corpse reincarnation jutsu requires cutting his own soul and sealing it in the form of a seal in the body of the reincarnation sacrifice, and then using the soul as a medium to reincarnate into the sacrifice's body. If the number of reincarnations is small, the damage to the soul is not great. However, Orochimaru cut out too many souls, and the seal on Kimamaro's body was completely wasted, which led to Orochimaru's soul being incomplete. Genjutsu and the Yamanaka clan's secret jutsu are Orochimaru's weaknesses. Damn it, Orochimaru gritted his teeth and cursed. Just now he was completely attracted by Hinata, so he ignored Yamanaka Inoichi and Kakashi. After all, in Orochimaru's view, these people were very insignificant, and he didn't expect them to really dare to attack him. Several jonin and umbu surrounded the three generations Kazekage in the middle, not giving the three generations Kazekage a chance to attack Yamanaka Inoichi. You are too naive. Three generations Kazekage sneered. Do you think I can't do anything when the iron sand is in the air? Puff, puff, puff. Sharp iron spikes pierced through the ground. The three dark ones were pierced through by the iron spikes. The others were also injured by the iron spikes. They could only retreat to the side. Orochimaru's face was covered in cold sweat. He put his hands together and completed the first seal. As the captain of the action team, Yamanaka Inoichi naturally knew the seal to unlock the Edo Tensei. Seeing the situation of the three generations Kazekage, Orochimaru sneered. You are very capable, but it's all over. Yamanaka Inoichi was also sweating. Although Orochimaru's soul has a great flaw, he is not an ordinary ninja after all. Under the fierce resistance, Yamanaka Inoichi could only deal with it with all his strength and couldn't move at all. Moreover, Hinata was also being held back by the second Tsuchikage and couldn't come over to support them. Although Hinata's speed is faster than the second Tsuchikage, if he also attracts the second Tsuchikage, then Shinobu can only type GG. Chapter 295. Yamanaka Inoichi's actions naturally couldn't be hidden from Hinata and Tsuchikage's perception. The three generations Kazekage used magnet release to condense iron sand from the ground, which was really unexpected. Shinobu was also caught off guard. Originally, he thought that the iron spikes in the air were already the limit of the three generations Kazekage, but he didn't expect him to have something else. If you go, Shinobu's people will suffer. Tsuchikage floated in front of Hinata and said, If you stay here, you can also restrain me. Although Orochimaru isn't a decent person, he's a traitor of Shinobu. For the Rock Village, you're more of a threat than Orochimaru. Indeed, no matter how difficult Orochimaru's ability is, the chance of him going to war with the Rock Village is very small. But the chance of Shinobu and the Rock Village going to war is very high. Once a war breaks out, Shinobu and the Rock Village are bound to fight. And Hinata is Shinobu's main force. Through the battle just now, Tsuchikage was convinced that a ninja like Hinata can't be defeated by numbers. Unless Inoki and the two Jinchuriki join forces, they can't hold Hinata back like this time. However, although the three Kages joined forces and suppressed Hinata for a short time, they relied on the Edo Tensei's immortality, not their strength. If they were still alive, they would have been suppressed by Hinata instead. Hinata's strength lies in the huge amount of chakra, his attack power, his movement speed, and his ability to fly. Tsuchikage himself is a perceptive ninja, and he can perceive Hinata's situation. After a series of battles just now, the amount of chakra in Hinata's body didn't show any signs of weakening. Hinata's moves consume a lot of chakra. If an ordinary ninja used chakra like Hinata, they would use up all of their chakra in a few moves. But while Hinata was using chakra, he was also making chakra in his body. The speed of making chakra can make up for Hinata's consumption speed. This is terrifying. The second Tsuchikage has never seen an example like Hinata, except for the Bijou. The Bijou has a limit, of course Hinata also has a limit. However, before he reaches his limit he can kill countless ninjas. For the Rock Village, the second Tsuchikage must kill Hinata here. You're right. Hinata looked at Tsuchikage and said faintly, If I go over there now, you will definitely follow. They won't be able to avoid the dust release and will be killed by you in an instant. But you seem to have forgotten one thing. Sachikage was curious. Oh, what did I forget? Hinata ejected chakra through the acupoints all over her body, and the skeleton of the Susanoo condensed in an instant. His left hand was aimed at Sachikage, and his right hand was aimed at the 3 generations Kazekage. I'm faster than you, Hinata said confidently. Without the 3 generations Reikage, you have already lost. On the ground, the 3 generations Kazekage manipulated the iron sand to form dense iron thorns and aimed at Inoichi and the Shinobu. After being dead for so many years, it seems that Shinobu has completely forgotten the horror of the sand hideout. The 3 generations Kazekage's face was gloomy, and he said coldly, "This time, I will let you remember." Under the control of the 3 generations Kazekage, thousands of iron thorns were aimed at the Shinobu at the same time. Inoichi, Kakashi, and the others were extremely vigilant. Die. The 3 generations Kazekage's face was ferocious. Although this resurrection wasn't his intention, his dignity made him unwilling to be used by Orochimaru. But if he can contribute to the sand after death, all of this doesn't matter. Bang! A spiral chakra beam with a diameter of 1 meter instantly swallowed the 3 generations Kazekage, and the spiral beam went straight to the ground and poked a bottomless hole in the ground. The iron thorns in the sky turned into iron sand and fell to the ground powerlessly. The 3 generations Kazekage disappeared without a trace, and they were turned into dust by the magic beam cannon. If the 3 generations Kazekage were still alive, the Senjutsu chakra condensed to the extreme would instantly evaporate all the cells in his body. Although he didn't know if the Edo Tensei could be resurrected, everyone. The second Sachikage looked at Hinata in shock. He was a perceptual ninja, and no one knew better than him what happened at that moment. However, what shocked the second Sachikage even more was Hinata's chakra. After a moment of huge consumption, Hinata's chakra was quickly replenished, and in less than a minute, Hinata's chakra will be restored to its peak. You are too scary. The second Sachikage's eyes were slightly narrowed, and his tone was dignified. I don't know how you practiced to this point at such a young age. Hinata laughed and said, I can get stronger while lying down. The second Sachikage. Very good, this character was finally established. Looking at the second Sachikage, Hinata slowly said, It's your turn now, you can't avoid it. Let's try it. The second Sachikage's body instantly split into 2 people, and the 2 second Sachikages made hand seals at the same time. Dust release. Original world separation technique. This was the second Sachikage's ultimate technique. Although the individual in the split state can't use the dust release, the 2 split bodies can use the ultimate technique at the same time. The fake Susanoo's hands aimed at the 2 split bodies of the second Sachikage at the same time, and 2 spiral chakra rays instantly shot out. I said you are too slow. The spiral rays crossed the sky, and everything disappeared without a trace. The biggest feature of the Gentle Fist system is its speed. Not only does it require hand seals, but the speed of the ninjutsu is also extremely fast. After dispersing the chakra, Hinata breathed a sigh of relief. In this state, even if I want to resurrect, it will take some time. Flapping his wings, Hinata flew toward Orochimaru. Well, in the black and white world of the Byakugan, Zetsu's figure appeared and made a gesture to Hinata. Hinata nodded slightly. Nagata was finally going to make a move. I didn't expect that this time. Not only did I collect information about Orochimaru, but I also learned about Hinata's current strength. White Zetsu had some doubts. Did you say that Hinata just used her full strength? Black Zetsu said in a deep voice. This is probably her full strength. She absorbed the power of Otsutsuki and got a stronger physique than the sage body. Although she didn't get any dojutsu, her physique's strength lies in its potential. As long as she masters more powerful ninjutsu, she can exert more power. The ability of the eyes lies in the dojutsu itself, and the physique's ability lies in the jutsu itself. Mastering a powerful ninjutsu, the physique can exert more power. Let's go. It's time for Nagato to act. After that, Zetsu slowly sank into the ground. Chapter 296. Floating in the air. Hinata looked down at Orochimaru. What a mess, Orochimaru. Do you look like one of the Sannin now? Orochimaru's hair was disheveled, his whole body was wet, his face was full of sweat, his face was ferocious, and the whites of his eyes were bloodshot. He looked like a female ghost who had just come out of the water. His body trembling slightly, Orochimaru was fighting against Yamanaka Inoichi's ninjutsu. Hearing the sound, Orochimaru looked up at Hinata. You can't kill me. Orochimaru's hoarse voice was full of cold killing intent. At this point, Orochimaru obviously couldn't see any hope, but he left himself a way to resurrect. You won't die here. Yamanaka Inoichi looked up at Hinata and shouted, Hinata, when I count to 3, you use that move to kill him, and I will remove the ninjutsu in an instant. Hinata panicked and asked, don't you need to explore the secrets in Orochimaru's mind? Yamanaka Inoichi said, just leave me a head aim. Hinata was silent, then nodded and said, I know. Don't dream. Orochimaru roared. His eyes were full of killing intent, and his eyes were ferocious to the extreme. In the spiritual world, the spiritual illusion of the white phosphorus snake condensed and rushed toward Yamanaka Inoichi fiercely. What is this? Yamanaka Inoichi instantly removed the ninjutsu and looked at Orochimaru in shock, and said with some shock, Orochimaru, what kind of monster are you? Hinata was about to make a move, but Orochimaru suddenly broke free from Yamanaka Inoichi's ninjutsu and forced Kakashi to retreat. He instantly came to Apothecary's pocket and shouted, Do! Apothecary's pocket didn't dare to hesitate. He cut his finger and smeared the blood on Orochimaru's arm. Summoning jutsu. Boom. In the huge smoke, Mansnake was summoned by Orochimaru. Orochimaru and Apothecary's pocket fled wildly under the cover of the smoke. I'll chase them. After notifying Yamanaka Inoichi, Hinata flapped his wings and chased in the direction of Orochimaru's escape. The moment she passed by Manda, Hinata waved her hand and used Mountain Break, creating a bloody hole in Manda's head. The moment Mansnake appeared, he only had time to shout Orochimaru. And then he was immediately sent back to the spiritual world by Hinata. Damn it! Looking back, Orochimaru couldn't help but curse. Orochimaru didn't expect Mansnake to turn the tables. At the moment when Mansnake was summoned, Orochimaru left a reverse summoning jutsu on Mansnake. As long as Mansnake dispels the summoning, Orochimaru can activate the jutsu to escape back to the Ryuchi cave. The relationship between Orochimaru and the Ryuchi cave is not good, and the snake sage of the Ryuchi cave is not friendly. He has always been indifferent to Orochimaru. If Orochimaru wants to return to the Ryuchi cave, he can only use this method. However, Hinata's move not only repelled Mansnake, but also destroyed the jutsu that Orochimaru left on Mansnake. Not only Senjutsu, but he also mastered Yin-Yang release. Even Orochimaru is a little jealous of Hinata's talent. Everything Hinata has is what Orochimaru dreams of. Looking away from Hinata, Orochimaru fled forward. Shinobu's encirclement is nothing to Orochimaru. At most, it can stop Orochimaru for a while. However, Orochimaru has to take Sasuke with him, and Hinata, Yamanaka Inoichi, Kakashi, and other ninjas are chasing after them. In this case, Orochimaru has the idea of temporarily giving up on Sasuke. It is impossible to escape with Sasuke. And, that is, in the open space in the forest, an orange-haired man wearing a black robe with red clouds stood there quietly, looking at Orochimaru with indifferent eyes without the slightest emotion. There was a lavender circle pattern in his eyes. It turned out to be Pain. Is the Akatsuki here too? Orochimaru panicked at first, but he quickly reacted. The organizations and Shinobu are chasing after him at the same time. Today's matter is definitely not as simple as a coincidence. Pain is blocking the way in front, and Hinata is chasing after him. Orochimaru stopped very wisely, looking at Pain and Hinata with some playful eyes. Maybe today he can see the power of Rinnegan with his own eyes. Orochimaru is very clear that today's matter is definitely not a coincidence. And it is impossible for Shinobu to inform the organizations. So the result is obvious. The organizations got the information of Orochimaru, and then informed Shinobu of this information. If the Akatsuki wants to kill me, they will never use Shinobu's hand. Orochimaru silently analyzed in his heart. Using Shinobu to force me to this point, and the leader of the Akatsuki appears at this moment. The thought flashed through his mind, and Orochimaru instantly figured out the Akatsuki's plan. Taking Apothecary's pocket to stand near Pain, Orochimaru's hoarse voice had a hint of ridicule. I didn't expect that when I was desperate, the former organizations would be willing to lend a helping hand. Pain glanced at Orochimaru and said indifferently, Orochimaru, you are very sensible. Ha 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 ha. Orochimaru chuckled, turned his eyes to Hinata in the air, and said, it is also one of the 3 major dojutsu. I don't know if your eyes or Byakugan is stronger. Pain said in a low voice. Don't compare the low-level dojutsu of Byakugan with Rinnegan. This is the Eye of God. Orochimaru chuckled, somewhat non-committal about the word God. Hinata floated in the air, looking down at Pain below. Except for the difference in color, Pain's Rinnegan was exactly the same as Hyogo's, the lowest level of Rinnegan. However, Pain's Rinnegan came from Kagaya's sacred tree, and Hyogo's Rinnegan came from Urushi's sacred tree. The level of the sacred tree is different, and the ability of Rinnegan will also be different. During the confrontation, Yamanaka Inoichi and Kakashi also chased over with a group of shinobu ninjas. After seeing Pain standing with Orochimaru, everyone stopped at the same time. Is it the Akatsuki? Kakashi looked at Pain and asked in a deep voice. As far as I know, Orochimaru should have betrayed the Akatsuki. Your Excellency is here. I don't know what is your purpose? Sharingan Kakashi. Pain turned to Kakashi and said faintly, I came to invite Orochimaru to rejoin the Akatsuki, and he has already agreed. Kakashi glanced at Orochimaru, and Orochimaru chuckled, apparently acquiescing. Akatsuki and Shinobu are not 2 sides that Orochimaru can deal with. Orochimaru's only choice is to join one side to protect himself. It is impossible for Shinobu to take Orochimaru in, and Pain's purpose is obviously to invite Orochimaru to rejoin the organizations. It could be said that the 2 of them were of the same mind, and were in love with each other. So Orochimaru can only choose Pain. Chapter 297. What's your purpose? On the top of the mountain, Konan looked at bordered soil coldly. She didn't hide the disgust and dissatisfaction in her heart, and it was all clearly shown on her face. Unlike Nagato, Nagato was only suspicious of bordered soil, and maintained a certain vigilance. But Konan was almost certain that bordered soil didn't have good intentions towards Nagato. Perhaps because of the different experience in her youth, Konan wasn't a person who was easily deceived. However, Konan only lived for 2 men, Yahiko and Nagato. Since Nagato chose to cooperate with bordered soil, even if Konan didn't like it in her heart, she would only support Nagato unconditionally and move forward with him. Now that Nagato was gone, Konan naturally didn't have to hide her disgust for bordered soil. Zetsu looked at bordered soil and Konan and stood silently. Bordered soil said slowly in a low voice. Using the power of Bijou and Rinnegan to create peace, isn't this our purpose all along? Konan didn't back down and asked. That's our purpose, you. What's your purpose? Bordered soil chuckled. The world created by Hashirama is wrong. I once mentioned to him using the power of Bijou to rule the world, but he refused me. Speaking of this, bordered soil suddenly sneered. All the pain you suffer comes from the wrong system of Ninja Village, so our purpose is the same. Konan snorted. Obviously she didn't believe bordered soil's nonsense. Perhaps it's because of a woman's unique intuition. Even if bordered soil hasn't shown any flaws so far, Konan still feels that he can't be trusted. Bordered soil continued. Instead of doubting me here, you should worry about Pain. Hinata is not so easy to deal with. The eyes under the mask moved slightly, and bordered soil glanced at Zetsu without a trace. Xiaonan was suspicious of bordered soil's purpose, and bordered soil was also suspicious of Ju's purpose. The cooperation between Black Zetsu and Hinata was undoubtedly confidential. Even the bordered soil didn't know about it. However, Dedale's death made Bordered Soil suspicious and distrustful of Black Zetsu. Even if he didn't want to expose his ability, if he wanted to escape with Dedale, it was actually quite easy in the eyes of the Bordered Soil. However, Dedale died at the hands of Hinata. Bordered Soil did not believe Black Zetsu's explanation. Bordered Soil suspected that Black Zetsu was already eyeing Hinata. What is he trying to do? Unlocking the Shiki seal and getting the other half of the 9 tails in Minato's body was indeed in the interest of the organizations. But at the same time, it also reduced the importance of Uzumaki Naruto. And in Bordered Soil's view, it was actually easier to get the other half of the 9 tails in Naruto's body. So much trouble, even exposing the organizations, exposing Pain's Rinnegan, just to get the other half of the 9 tails. Black Zetsu's explanation to Bordered Soil was that Hinata had grown to the level of Senju Hashirama. If he wanted to get the 9 tails in Uzumaki Naruto's body under the protection of Hinata, even Nagato couldn't do it. This also makes sense. But Black Zetsu wanted to win over Hinata before. He also said that the power of Byakugan would make the infinite Tsukuyomi come to reality and become a real world. But Black Zetsu didn't mention this matter now, and now it reduced the importance of Naruto. No matter how you look at it, Black Zetsu seems to want to avoid Hinata. Suppressing the doubts in his heart, Bordered Soil retracted his gaze. Black Zetsu is the will of Uchiha Madara, and Bordered Soil doesn't trust Black Zetsu. Bordered Soil also has his own plan. He wants to complete the infinite Tsukuyomi with his own strength. Maybe Zetsu has already noticed it, so he made another preparation. Bordered Soil can only guess like this, which can explain some of Black Zetsu's actions. And there must be something special about Hinata. Black Zetsu said that the power of Byakugan can make the infinite Tsukuyomi into a real world. And now it seems that it may not be false. Hinata's normal speed was too fast and it was too abnormal. However, Bordered Soil is very sure of one thing: Hinata, as a shinobu ninja, has been in the hands of the family since he was a child. Such a person would never agree to the Eye of the Moon plan. Looking into the distance, Bordered Soil thought to himself. This time, Hinata and Nagato are against each other. Maybe even Zetsu himself didn't expect it? Hinata's particularity, and Zetsu's secret plan. Maybe I can notice it today. Thinking of this, Bordered Soil slowly said, "I'll leave it to you for the time being." After that, the space fluctuated slightly, and Bordered Soil slowly disappeared. Zetsu turned a blind eye to Bordered Soil's private actions, and he didn't even worry that Bordered Soil would secretly take action against Hinata. Just as Nagato can't fail, Bordered Soil can't fail either. No matter who Bordered Soil loses to, Nagato will doubt his identity. And the best way not to fail is to do nothing. As long as you don't do anything, you will never fail. As long as Bordered Soil continues to maintain a sense of mystery, the identity of Uchiha Madara will not be exposed. The intrigue within the organizations has nothing to do with Hinata, and even if Hinata knows, he won't care. With the heart technique and the Edo Tensei, Bordered Soil can't resist Black Zetsu. No matter what form Uchiha Madara comes to the ninja world, the Eye of the Moon plan will be carried out smoothly as expected. And Hinata, like Black Zetsu, only needs to receive all the fruits of victory at the last moment. The most important thing for Hinata right now is how to make Pain lose without leaving a trace. Hinata has shown all his strength before, especially with the fake version of Susanoo. He can use the magic beam cannon, which is a super ninjutsu that can destroy a town. To be honest, Hinata has enough confidence to cut Nagato's Chibaku Tensei, and Pain can't absorb Senjutsu chakra. So no matter what Hinata thinks, Pain is likely to die here today. Kakashi and Yamanaka Inoichi looked at each other. Yamanaka Inoichi nodded slightly, looked at Pain and said in a deep voice, "Orochimaru is our Shinobu's traitor. We are going to bring him back to Shinobu today. I hope you won't interfere in our Shinobu's affairs." Pain's eyes flashed coldly, and his right hand stretched out and pointed at Shinobu. Hinata saw this and shouted, "Be careful." Pain's voice was low, "Shinra Tensei." In an instant, the world seemed to have quieted down. Even the raging winds had stopped moving. At this moment, it seemed that there was only Pain's low voice between heaven and earth. Shinra Tensei. The repulsive force broke out, and a faint light lit up on Pain's body, and a transparent barrier seemed to appear in the air. The light in the woods was a little dim, and the sun shone on Pain through the gaps in the leaves. At this moment, Pain seemed to have swallowed all the light, and his body looked dim under the sunlight. In Hinata's Byakugan vision, the expression on Pain's face remained calm, and there was no trace of waves in his calm eyes. The surging repulsive force centered on Pain, crushing forward in a fan shape. The repulsive force was like an unstoppable tsunami. The forest, the earth, everything in front of him was pushed to the distance by this repulsive force. Chapter 298. At the moment when Shinra Tensei broke out, Hinata stretched out a dozen chakra hands and pulled Kakashi and other shinobu ninja into the air. Spraying chakra under her feet, Hinata took shinobu and others to the sky, avoiding the attack range of Shinra Tensei. The space within a radius of hundreds of meters was raised to the ground in an instant, and the ground in front of Pain was dragged out by the repulsion force. At the front of the fan-shaped deep mark, the soil and trees were mixed together, piling up a hill of more than 10 meters high. Kakashi looked at all this below, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. If it weren't for Hinata, they would have been killed by Pain in an instant. Under such a ninjutsu attack, even if they used earth release to hide underground, their bodies would be crushed into powder by the soil. The other shinobu ninja were even more shocked and speechless. Even Jonin and Umbu level ninja, except for the battle against Ninetales 12 years ago. Have they ever seen such a scene? Today's battle can be said to have refreshed their worldview. It turns out that the power of ninja can reach this level. There is such a strong ninja in the organizations. Yamanaka Inoichi's eyes were dignified, and he said in a deep voice, "Except for Hinata, we have no power to fight against him. If it's a close fight, Kakashi and Yamanaka Inoichi can still fight with Pain. But if this scale of ninjutsu battle is used, they have no room to intervene at all." Pain's Rinnegan eyes, as cold as a 10,000-year-old iceberg, looked at the sky, and his eyes flashed with cold killing intent. Sure enough, she's not an ordinary ninja. Orochimaru licked his lips excitedly, and the power of Rinnegan was really powerful. With a chuckle, Orochimaru's hoarse voice sounded. Hinata can be said to be the most talented ninja in the ninja world since the Ninja Village era. Even the former god of ninja Hashirama, and Uchiha Madara, didn't have such strong power at her age. Pain said coldly, "Any genius is not worth mentioning in front of God." Orochimaru glanced at Pain and said in a playful tone, "You have to try to know." In the sky, Hinata flapped her wings and flew to the distance and put Kakashi, Yamanaka Inoichi, and others on the ground. That guy isn't an ordinary ninja. Kakashi guessed. Akatsuki's leader? Tsunade didn't disclose the information about the Akatsuki's leader. Even elite jonin like Kakashi and Yamanaka Inoichi didn't know about the existence of Rinnegan. Once this information is made, it will cause panic in the village. Only those who carry out relevant tasks or are strong enough to fight against them will know this information. Yamanaka Inoichi said in a deep voice, "Kakashi, did you notice that person's eyes?" Kakashi nodded solemnly. "If I'm not wrong, that should be the legendary Rinnegan." Rinnegan? Shinobu's Jonin and Umbu were a little confused. Many people had never even heard of the word Rinnegan. Yamanaka Inoichi said in a deep voice, "In short, this mission has changed. You take the rest of the ninja and retreat first. Kakashi, Hinata, and I will further explore the information of Rinnegan." "Yes." Yamanaka Inoichi turned to look at Hinata and asked cautiously, "Hinata, how sure are you?" Hinata scratched his face and shook his head. "I don't know. I don't know what ability Rinnegan has. If there is a stronger ability, I am not his opponent." Yamanaka Inoichi and Kakashi looked at each other and nodded. "No matter what, we have to bring the information of Rinnegan back to the village." Hinata, "If the enemy is too strong, you have to return to Shinobu alive." Hinata quickly said, "I won't run away alone." Kakashi shouted in a deep voice, "Hinata, don't be stubborn. The information of Rinnegan is extremely important to the village and to the ninja world. It is related to the future of the whole world. Hinata was unhappy. Yamanaka Inoichi said in a timely manner. Let's not talk about this. Kakashi, let's act immediately. Pain and Orochimaru stood still and said nothing. Both of them had no interest in chatting. Apothecary's pocket has gone to find Sasuke. Orochimaru knows Shinobu's usual style very well. After seeing Pain's ninjutsu just now, Shinobu will definitely let ordinary ninjas retreat temporarily, and only send a few elite ninjas to inquire about the information of Rinnegan. As a result, Apothecary's pocket and Sasuke have a chance to retreat. Orochimaru chose to stay and see the ability of Rinnegan with his own eyes. With Pain's pride, he will not choose to escape. Even if it was Shinobu who just escaped, Pain will not leave with Orochimaru at this time, because this is related to the dignity and pride of Kami. Although he doesn't want to expose the ability of Rinnegan too much, there are only two results of this encounter between Pain and Shinobu. Either one side dies on the spot, or Shinobu retreats first. Since he calls himself Kami, then the identity of Kami will restrict some of Pain's actions. On the distant mountain top, after Bordered Soil left, Konan returned to the paper tree alone to guard Nagato's body. Hoo. Although Shinra Tensei wasn't Nagato's limit, it still consumed a lot of Nagato's chakra. Even Tendo Pain's ability was somewhat limited. He couldn't use Tendo's ability for at least 30 seconds. Nagato, Konan said with concern. Don't use that jutsu again, your body is all ready. Don't worry. Nagato slightly gasped and said lightly. I know my limit, and before Yahiko's dream is realized I won't mess around. I saw the battle between Hinata and Orochimaru. An ordinary ninjutsu have no effect on her. Konan's face was also dignified. Before the battle between Hinata and the three Kages, Konan, Bordered Soil, and Pain all watched from a distance. That kind of power was not much worse than Nagato's. Compared to Hinata, Nagato's chakra, taijutsu, mobility, speed, and many other aspects were inferior. The only thing Nagato could rely on now was his Rinnegan. Hinata's strength is a threat to the organization's plan. If possible, I will use that jutsu. Konan's face was full of worry, and she anxiously said, Nagato, your body will be overdrawn. Nagato said in a deep voice, This is my choice. After this incident, the Akatsuki organization must lay low and wait for the operation 2 years later. Before that, the organizations must not act rashly and alert the enemy. Fortunately, Shinobu has been investigating the organizations, and it doesn't matter if some abilities are exposed in front of Shinobu. Before the plan starts, this should be the only time Nagato and Hinata will fight. Moreover, Hinata's talent is too terrifying, and Nagato doesn't want to let Hinata continue to grow, even if it will overdraw his body. This time Hinata must be eliminated. Chapter 299. Whoosh in the sky, Hinata's figure crossed like a meteor, his left palm aimed at Pain, and the spiral light shot out instantly. Pain dodged calmly, and the spiral light pierced the ground like a needle-piercing tofu, making a bottomless pit about 10 centimeters in diameter on the ground. Is it a penetrating ninjutsu? Pain stretched his right hand to the sky and aimed at Hinata, preparing to suck Hinata to the ground with Bansho 10 pull. This is. Pain's right hand suddenly shifted uncontrollably, and aimed at Orochimaru standing next to Pain. Orochimaru said with vigilance, This is the Yamanaka clan's secret jutsu, mind confusion jutsu, which requires one's willpower to resist it. While speaking, Orochimaru had bitten his thumbs. As long as Pain used ninjutsu on him, he would immediately summon Rashomon. Soul space. This was a pitch-black, boundless world. At the moment when Yamanaka Inoichi invaded Pain's spiritual world, he immediately noticed Pain's abnormality, but he couldn't tell exactly what was wrong. When he was about to continue to explore, in the boundless darkness, a pair of Rinnegan appeared out of thin air, looking down at Yamanaka Inoichi like a god's eyes. Yamanaka Inoichi's spiritual power was hit hard, and he was instantly kicked out of Pain's spiritual world. Puff! In the distance, Yamanaka Inoichi spat blood, and his nosebleed dripped to the ground. His brain was dizzy, and his eyes were bloodshot. He seemed to have suffered extremely serious mental trauma. Cough. Yamanaka Inoichi covered his mouth, blood overflowed from his fingers, and he knelt on the ground, his body twitching from time to time. I was careless. I didn't expect the power of Rinnegan to be so powerful. Yamanaka Inoichi thought he was careful enough, and he used mind confusion jutsu, instead of mind-body rotation jutsu, to invade his opponent's spiritual world. Otherwise, Yamanaka Inoichi's spiritual power would have completely collapsed under the power of Rinnegan. How strong is Yamanaka Inoichi's spiritual power? In the original Shinobi World War, Yamanaka Inoichi once overdrafted his body and talked to tens of thousands of ninjas for dozens of seconds. But now, under the gaze of Rinnegan, his spiritual power was injured in an instant. I can only rely on you guys. Yamanaka Hai's face showed a trace of unwillingness. Then he fainted on the ground and lost all consciousness. Bang! The ground under Pain's feet suddenly shattered. Kakashi's hand flashed with lightning, and the thunder cutter pierced Pain's heart. There was no panic on Pain's face. The repulsive force bounced out. Before Kakashi's body could completely leave the ground, he was sent flying more than 20 meters by a powerful force. Boom! Kakashi's body turned into smoke and disappeared. Before Pain could respond, 3 more Kakashi emerged from the ground. 2 of the Ryu Kakashi held iron chains and wrapped Pain's body tightly. The other Kakashi appeared behind Pain and stabbed Pain's back. Orochimaru smiled and stepped back without a trace. Apparently he didn't mean to intervene. Pain looked back at Kakashi without any emotion in his eyes. As if he was looking at a dead object, his eyes were indifferent and ruthless. Whoosh! Rumble! A missile hit Kakashi, who used the thunder cutter, and the flame drowned Kakashi in an instant. When the flame dissipated, Kakashi's figure also disappeared. It's a shadow clone, then the real body is... Pain looked at the 2 Kakashi who were pulling the chain on the left and right. Before he could make a move, the current had been transmitted along the chain to Pain's body. The thunder and lightning clashed, and the sound of ZZ resounded. Bathed in thunder and lightning, Pain's face was still expressionless, as if the thunder and lightning had no effect on him. Hinata flew back after circling in the air, aiming his palms at Pain below. Go to hell! Hinata roared, and the spiral light shot straight toward Pain. Orochimaru's eyes were playful. Has the power of Rinnegan ended here? Boom! In the huge smoke, the Hellhound appeared out of thin air, blocking between Pain and Hinata. Flesh and blood flew, and the spiral light easily penetrated the Hellhound's body, but the spiral light also deviated, allowing Pain to escape. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 orange-haired men in black with red clouds attacked the 2 Kakashi, and the shadow clones were instantly destroyed. Kakashi's real body fought with the opponent, and then quickly retreated. Hinata also fell to the ground and stood with Kakashi. On the opposite side, in addition to Tendo Pain and Orochimaru, there were 5 more orange-haired men in black with red clouds, and each of their eyes was Rinnegan. Hoo-hoo-hoo! Kakashi panted slightly, and his chest rose and fell violently. After using Raikiri twice in a row and creating 3 shadow clones, Kakashi's chakra was almost exhausted. Before this, Kakashi also fought a few moves with the 3 generations of Reikage, plus the burden of Sharingan. He was almost at his limit. 6 pairs of Rinnegan? Kakashi showed a trace of doubt and questioned. When did this legendary eye become a common thing? Hinata said in a deep voice. Kakashi-sensei, look at that dog. Kakashi turned his head and looked. Hinata continued. That dog also has Rinnegan. Obviously, the main body of Rinnegan used some kind of ninjutsu to distribute the ability of the eyes to others. Well said. Kakashi said solemnly. But among the 6 people, which one is the main body? Hinata said calmly. Their heartbeats have stopped. This should be a ninjutsu similar to the puppet jutsu. Do you see the black stick inserted in their bodies? That thing is the medium that controls these 6 people. Looking around, Hinata speculated. If I'm not wrong, the main body of Rinnegan should be hidden nearby. Hinata and Kakashi's voice was not small, so Pain of 6 Paths and Orochimaru heard Hinata's analysis. Orochimaru also turned his head and looked around, looking for the possible location of Pain's main body. Very keen insight, It seems that you have a pair of good eyes. Pain of Tendo stood in front of Pain of Six Paths, looking at Hinata and Kakashi like a god. It's been a long time since I encountered a situation where 6 people were dispatched at the same time. Hinata, your existence has threatened the peace. For this reason I even destroyed the plan of Akatsuki. His tone was low, and there was no trace of waves in Pain's eyes. I will punish you with my own hands. The arrogance of a god was revealed from Pain's calm tone. You're a moron. Hinata scolded and didn't want to talk to Nagato at all. I, Hinata, am willing to call you the strongest, Kakashi whispered. Hinata, can you find his main body? Hinata shook his head slightly and said in a deep voice. The main body of Rinnegan should be hidden outside of my perception ability, and he used some kind of hidden ninjutsu. Chapter 300. After a pause, Hinata continued to analyze. It stands to reason that if the ability of Rinnegan is concentrated on one person, it can exert its full power. Dividing the ability equally among 6 people, although it seems that there are many people, but in fact, it reduces the power of Rinnegan. Kakashi looked at Hinata with a trace of doubt and puzzlement in his eyes. In Kakashi's view, ninja can exert the greatest power through cooperation. By dividing the ability among 6 people, the power of Rinnegan can be exerted to the extreme through the cooperation of the different abilities of the 6 people. Just like before, Tendo Pain was entangled by Kakashi with an iron chain, and the other Pain could immediately come to his rescue. But if the ability of Rinnegan is concentrated on one person, the situation just now was a sure-kill situation for Pain. Hinata explained, Kakashi-sensei, the cooperation of many people is not the same as the cooperation of puppets. Even if the ability is strong, in the case of distraction, the reaction will be weakened. Before absorbing Urishi, Hinata had to be distracted to control natural energy every time he entered Sage mode. In this case, the reaction and judgment of people will be greatly affected. And in the battle between the strong, as long as the reaction speed is a little slow, it is possible to be killed by the other party. In the original work, when Pain lost the ability of the other 5 paths, Tendo's ability was indeed strengthened to a certain extent. And when Chio fought with Sasori of the Red Sand, when the number of Sasori of the Red Sand's 100 machines decreased, his control of the puppets was strengthened, and his combat power was further improved. After Nagato was resurrected by Edo Tensei, he suppressed Naruto and Hachibi in Nine Tails mode by himself. If it weren't for Itachi Uchiha's Totsuka sword, the result of the battle at that time would have been difficult to predict. Kakashi nodded and agreed with Hinata's analysis. So the body of Rinnegan should be restricted in some way. Kakashi speculated. Is it a special identity, or is there a problem with the body? What an exquisite analysis. Heaven's Path Pain's eyes, which were like ripples of water, flashed with a dangerous light. There was a moment of silence. Pain's expression was calm as usual, but his tone was cold. Sometimes the more you know, the more dangerous it is. The air was filled with the oppressive aura of an impending storm. The forest was razed to the ground, and the warm sunlight shone on the ground. However, the light seemed to be dimmer than before. A gust of wind blew past, stirring up clouds of dust. The whistling wind was like the roar of a beast. Pain's dangerous aura became more and more dignified. Under the contrast of the Rinnegan, it gave people a sense of fatal crisis. Hinata turned to look at Kakashi. Kakashi nodded slightly. A pair of chakra wings materialized behind his back. Hinata leaped into the air and blocked in front of Kakashi. The main force of this battle can only be Hinata, and Kakashi will use his remaining chakra to create a killing opportunity for Hinata. Dozens of meters away, 6 Paths Pain looked up at Hinata. Rinnegan and Byakugan looked at each other from a distance, and their eyes met in the air. Although Kakashi's Sharingan is half-baked, at this moment, the 3 major dojutsu of the shinobi world are gathered together. This may be a battle that hasn't happened in the shinobi world for hundreds of years. Wiz Hinata was the first to make a move. His hands were aimed at Pain, and the 2 wings behind him stopped flapping for an instant. 6 spiral rays of light cut through the sky and shot towards 6 Paths Pain with extreme murderous intent. Under the blessing of the Senjutsu chakra, The spiral rays seemed to ignore the distance of space. In just a moment, they had already shot in front of Six Paths Pain. So fast. Pain's pupils shrank sharply. At the moment when the thought rose, the ability of Tendo and the ability of Gakido were launched at the same time. Shinra Tensei. Seal Technique. Boom. The invisible repulsive force of Shinra Tensei collided with the spiral rays of Magical Beam Cannon in mid-air. Time and space seemed to stop for an instant, and the 6 spiral rays of light stagnated in the air for a moment. This was the first time that Hinata saw the shape of the spiral rays of light. Each spiral ray was formed by the rotation of 3 chakra rays. Under the extremely fast rotation speed, the penetration power was exerted to the extreme. The repulsive force of Shinra Tensei only lasted for a moment. The spiral rays of Magical Beam Cannon paused for a moment, and continued to shoot towards Six Paths Pain. Even if the power has been greatly weakened, it is still enough to kill. Bullets and missiles can kill, but the power of the two is different. However, at the moment when the spiral rays of light stopped, Six Paths Pain had already lined up in formation. Gakido Pain stood at the front of the team, his hands aimed at the spiral rays of light. The bright white barrier blocked in front of him. The spiral rays of light seemed to be uncontrollable, and were sucked by Gakido Pain. "I'll feed you in one go," Hinata roared and continued to use Senjutsu Chakra. Ugh! Gakido Pain's face suddenly bulged, and then his body began to swell. His body changed into a variety of strange shapes like mud. Boom! Gakido Pain exploded with a bang, and his flesh and blood scattered on the ground. Unlike Naruto's chakra, which carried the characteristics of a toad, Hinata's chakra was the tree of God. The characteristics were different, and the consequences of losing control of Senjutsu Chakra were also different. Tendo Pain's pupils shrank slightly. Tendo was a Pain individual born in Yahiko's body, and he was also the head of Six Paths Pain, and the main perspective of Nagato's control of Six Paths Pain. More than 10 miles away, Nagato saw through Tendo Pain's eyes, and for the first time, he deeply recognized Hinata's strength. Is this Hinata? Nagato sat on the life support device, and his breathing became more and more rapid. Conan showed a trace of worry, and looked at Nagato anxiously. Nagato, Orochimaru has surrendered to us. This battle is no longer necessary. Let's retreat for now. Xiaonan was not a weak woman. If Xiaonan was alone, Xiaonan could fight to the death with any enemy. But this was related to Nagato's body, and Conan didn't want him to continue fighting. However, Nagato had the same idea as Conan. Nagato didn't want Conan to take risks, but if she was alone, Nagato was not afraid to fight to the death. If we let Hinata continue to grow, our plan will be hindered, Nagato said softly, although we have the other half of 9 tails, and we don't need to offend Shinobu for the time being, but, speaking of this, Nagato's tone suddenly became serious. The majesty of the gods cannot be offended. Nagato's thoughts were clearly expressed through Six Paths Pain's actions. The Cerberus split into 2 and rushed toward Hinata. Chikashoto Pain summoned 3 summoned beasts in a row. Shuradu Pain fully transformed, and the laser turret condensed a lavender chakra cannon, aiming at Hinata in the air. Chapter 301. It's useless. Hinata roared, and Chakra's fists instantly condensed, and both fists continuously waved at Pain's position. The blue Chakra's fists were like meteors falling from the sky, smashing towards Pain. Pegasus Meteor Fist. Pain's hands aimed at the sky. Shinra Tensei. The repulsion force collided with the Chakra's fists, and the originally unbalanced Chakra's fists exploded in the air. The ground shook slightly, and even if Chakra's fists only exploded in the air, the ground still cracked inch by inch in the shock wave of the explosion, and the soil was scattered everywhere. It's not over yet. Hinata ignored it and continued to wave his fists, and Chakra's fists poured down like a storm. Triple Rashomon. Orochimaru pressed his hands on the ground, and his face was full of ferocity. Hinata had gone crazy. In the aftermath of the explosion just now, Orochimaru had realized the horror of this technique. With so many fists smashing down at the same time, even if Orochimaru's body was hit by so many fists, he would probably die without a trace. Chakra's senjutsu condensed to the extreme can evaporate human cells in an instant. Pain looked at the sky at the same time. And at this moment, he seemed to have forgotten to resist. When Pain lost control and exploded, Pain's ability was now on cooldown, and the other Pains couldn't resist this ninjutsu at all. Boom. As the first Chakra's fist fell on the ground, hundreds of Chakra's fists hit the ground at the same time, and the explosion resounded through the air. Rumble, rumble. The shock wave of the explosion swept in all directions, and the clouds in the sky were scattered and turned into raindrops, forming a curtain of rain at the edge of the shock wave. The soil on the ground rolled like waves, and wave after wave rolled in all directions. Hinata didn't care about the consumption of chakra at all, and only when the chakra production in his body slowed down did Hinata stop the attack. Natural energy swept out, and the smoke and dust dispersed in an instant. There was no one on the ground. Whether it was Six Paths Pain or Orochimaru, they had all disappeared without a trace. Hinata saw it clearly. Orochimaru's triple Rashomon created an opportunity for him to escape. Although Orochimaru was heavily injured, he had already escaped to the edge of Hinata's Byakugan's line of sight. The four Pains were almost annihilated in an instant. Only Tendo Pain hid in the Hellhound's mouth, and was pushed 500 meters away by the shock wave of the explosion. Kakashi was also sent flying by the shock wave of the explosion, and fainted in the distance. Flapping the wings on his back, Hinata flew toward the location of Tendo Pain, far away from the battlefield. Hinata is too reckless. White Zetsu couldn't help but complain. Nagato won't be beaten to the point of self-doubt, right? Black Zetsu was silent for a moment, and then said in a deep voice, "The Rinnegan's ability can only be maximized with the help of nine-tailed beasts. Nagato is not a complete failure." White Zetsu. This reason can continue to be used against Nagato. Black Zetsu calmly said, "Hinata's ability has been exposed before. If she doesn't do this, Shinobu will doubt her." White Zetsu slightly said, "This is also," Black Zetsu continued, "but through this battle, we also know Hinata's current limit. There is still a certain gap between her chakra and the tailed beasts, but from a human point of view, she has surpassed the limits of human beings, and she can also use the Senjutsu chakra. In terms of combat power, Nine Tails will also be suppressed by her." White Zetsu frowned. If this is the case when she masters a stronger ninjutsu, even if Madara is at his peak, she can still fight. "Do we really not have to guard against her?" Black Zetsu said lightly. "In terms of purpose, we are the same as her. At least until Mother is resurrected, we won't have a conflict with her. Once Mother is resurrected, once Kagaya is resurrected, Hinata's threat will not be great." After a pause, Black Zetsu continued, "Nagato's side will be handed over to Bordered Soil. Nagato's will is also strong, and today's matter may strengthen his determination to collect the tailed beasts." On the other side of the battlefield, Bordered Soil was also watching the battle between Hinata and Pain. Has she grown to this extent? It's too strange. Through Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu, Bordered Soil knew a lot of secrets of the ninja world, but after all, he has never seen a ninja battle of this scale with his own eyes. Although Bordered Soil, who has mastered Kamui, is not afraid of this kind of attack, but Bordered Soil is far from being able to exert such a strong power. What really makes Bordered Soil curious is Hinata's strange growth speed. Hinata's talent in jutsu aside, Hinata's chakra and her physique are the most unusual. 13 years old. This is not the power obtained through normal practice. Even forbidden techniques can't do it. Ninjutsu, senjutsu, and chakra are all okay, and there are such examples in the ninja world. But what about her physique? Hinata's physique is just like a tailed beast, and even ordinary people's Jinchuriki can't do it to Hinata's level. What did Black Zetsu find? Bordered Soil didn't know that Hagoromo Sannin had a younger brother. In the legend of the ninja world, the origin of the Hyuga clan is also Hagoromo Sannin, and the Hyuga clan is called the Ancient Clan. Bordered Soil became more and more curious about Hinata's secret. Everything that happened to Hinata is very abnormal, and this abnormal growth speed may be the same as Nagato's. Uchiha Madara transplanted the Rinnegan into Nagato's body when he was young. So what about Hinata? Could it be that someone also gave Hinata some kind of ability when Hinata was young? Bordered Soil could only think of this explanation to explain Hinata's abnormality. And Black Zetsu discovered this secret. Black Zetsu has always wanted to win over Hinata, and even planned many conspiracies against Hinata for this reason. However, Black Zetsu always wants to avoid Hinata. Getting Orochimaru into the organizations, breaking the Shikifujin, getting the other half of the Nine Tails in Namikaze Minato's body. All of this is to reduce the importance of Uzumaki Naruto. Black Zetsu has always wanted to target Hinata's relatives and friends, but now he deliberately avoids these. Uchiha Madara wants to use Nagato to resurrect himself. Then who is the one who used Hinata, and what does he want? Bordered Soil thought of all kinds of conspiracies under his imagination. There must be a very powerful existence behind Hinata. Through the different attitude of Black Zetsu before and after, Bordered Soil even believes that the person who used Hinata is far more powerful than Uchiha Madara. Sharingan can evolve into Rinnegan, then what about Byakugan? Bordered Soil felt that he was getting closer and closer to the truth. Hinata didn't know that Bordered Soil imagined a powerful background. Spraying chakra with all his strength, Hinata flew near the Cerberus in the blink of an eye. Chakra skull condensed on his body, and the fake Susanu's hands aimed at the Cerberus's head. Tendo Pain was hidden in the Cerberus's mouth at this moment. A dark ball floated in the air, and it seemed to absorb all the light nearby. Hinata just glanced at it, and he was relieved. Nagato finally used this trick. Chibaku Tensei. If Nagato's body didn't make a move, Hinata really had no reason to escape. Chapter 302. Before Chibaku Tensei was launched, Hinata sprayed chakra with all his strength, picked up Kakashi and Yamanaka Inoichi, and sped away. Not far behind him, a bright white light covered the light of the sun for a moment, and the earth was sucked into the sky. The gravity of Chibaku Tensei was like an invisible big hand, pulling Hinata closer to the black ball at the center of the gravity. If Hinata couldn't fly, then Hinata would have been sucked into the sky at this moment. Because there was nowhere to borrow force, he couldn't escape the range of gravity. But Chibaku Tensei doesn't have much effect on ninjas who can fly. When he sealed Urishi, he first used Yin-Yang release seal technique, and then used Chibaku Tensei. The shortcomings of the physical seal technique are too obvious compared to the traditional seal technique. Hinata sprayed chakra with all his strength against the gravity of Chibaku Tensei. Although the flying speed was slow, the distance between Hinata and the gravitational black ball was constantly increasing. As more and more rocks and soil were sucked up, the gravity of Chibaku Tensei was getting smaller and smaller. Without the gravitational pull, Hinata accelerated and galloped away. It's finally over. Leaving the battlefield, Hinata was also relieved. This battle was really troublesome. Hinata had to fight with all his strength to not let Shinobu see the flaws, and at the same time, he couldn't kill Orochimaru and Pain and destroy his and Black Zetsu's plan. So every time he makes a move, Hinata has to be careful, so as not to accidentally kill the opponent. Take the time when Pain escaped from the Pegasus meteor punch. His movements couldn't escape the Byakugan's insight. If Hinata used the magic beam cannon, in an instant to blow up the head of the Hellhound, Pain would have died on the spot. Although the process was troublesome, the ending was good. After witnessing such a battle, the return of Orochimaru to the organizations should be a foregone conclusion, right? If Orochimaru didn't join the organizations, he would be hunted down by both Akatsuki and Shinobu. In the past, Orochimaru had enough confidence to fight against Akatsuki and Shinobu, but this time, after seeing the battle between Hinata and Pain, presumably, Orochimaru would not dare to be as unscrupulous as before. Orochimaru entering Akatsuki means that the Nine Tails in Minato's body and Kimimara's chakra will be found. Black Zetsu will also ask Orochimaru for information on Kimimara's body, and ninjutsu for Hinata to study and learn. Moreover, Orochimaru had used the Hachibi's cells to clone the Hachibi's horn, so it had to be handed over to the higher-ups. Hinata and Black Zetsu's plan can be regarded as a complete success. As for Shinobu's side, the loss was not big. Only 3 ninjas were penetrated by iron sand, and were seriously injured. The other ninjas were only slightly injured. Fortunately, the 3 generations Kazekage did not poison the iron sand. There were also medical ninjas in the action team. If they were rescued in time, the seriously injured would not be a problem. On the contrary, Yamanaka Inoichi's injury was a bit troublesome. He could only send him back to Shinobu and let Tsunade find a way. Although Shinobu only gained information this time for Hinata, he showed his full strength. Hinata's status in the village naturally rose. Whether it was Orochimaru or Pain, they were not something ordinary ninjas could deal with. Especially Pain. Konoha still doesn't know what Pain's true body is capable of. But the appearance of Chibaku Tensei will undoubtedly make Shinobu associate it with the battle in the Land of Fire. The traces caused by the 2 Chibaku Tensei were similar, so in Shinobu's view, the battle that happened in the Land of Fire at the beginning of this year was probably Pain's body fighting with the enemy. If so, Kakashi's guess about Pain's body is somewhat reasonable. Either his identity is special, or there is a problem with his body. Finding the ninjas of the action team, Hinata descended from the sky with Kakashi and Yamanaka Inoichi and hurriedly shouted, "Medical team, come and see if they can still be saved. If they can't be saved, give them a quick death." Medical ninjas. Kakashi was just in a coma, but Yamanaka Inoichi was still frowning in a coma, and there were a few painful groans from time to time. Obviously, he was enduring great pain. After the medical team's inspection, they reported in a deep voice, "Kakashi-san's injury is not serious, and he will wake up soon after treatment, but Yamanaka-san," Hinata asked nervously, "how is Uncle Inoichi? After all, he is the father of a good friend." Hinata doesn't want anything to happen to Yamanaka Inoichi, otherwise his sin will be big. The medical ninja was embarrassed. "We can only delay the deterioration of the injury for the time being and reduce Yamanaka-san's pain. As for the specific treatment plan, we can only wait until we return to the village and ask Naruto-sama to take care of it." "That's good." Hinata nodded slightly, as long as it's not impossible to save him. Tsunade is popular in Shinobu for a reason. Those ninjas who were seriously injured in missions outside, as long as they think that they can receive treatment when they return to the village, will naturally think of Tsunade's credit. Over time, Tsunade's prestige in Shinobu has also increased. The ninjas of the action team have set up tents. Everyone will rest here tonight. Let the wounded receive some simple treatment, and wait until tomorrow morning to return to Shinobu. Hinata is hiding in his small tent, biting the pen to write the mission report. As the main force of this battle, Hinata can be said to be the one who knows the most about Orochimaru and Pain among the ninjas of Shinobu. Yamanaka Inoichi is still in a coma, and Kakashi also pushed the task of writing the mission report to Hinata under the excuse of being seriously injured. And Hinata is already a jonin, so he is qualified to write these things. Well, from inquiring information to the final battle, Hinata wrote down the whole process in detail, and then filled in various words to describe it, writing more than 6,000 words in one breath. After the process was written, it was Hinata's own analysis of the matter. This includes a summary of the mistakes in the mission, as well as an analysis of the enemy's ability, psychology, attitude, purpose, and other aspects. Hinata recalled the information he had read about Orochimaru and Pain in his previous life, and wrote a summary of the mission of more than 4,000 words. The mission report of more than 10,000 words is officially over. Covering the pen cap with satisfaction, Hinata carefully organized the mission report and prepared to return to the village to give it to Tsunade. With so much content, it should be enough for Tsunade to read for half an hour, right? If he wants to understand the contents of the report, I'm afraid that Tsunade will have to read for a long time. *__**. Hee. I'm a responsible jonin. Hinata yawned and was about to get into bed to sleep, but suddenly found a weak sunlight coming in from outside the tent. Hinata, get up. We have to rush back to the village immediately. Kakashi's voice came from outside the tent. Hinata, isn't this harming yourself? Chapter 303. Hitting a wall will make people have a clear understanding of themselves. Escaping from Shinobu's encirclement, Orochimaru also had a clear judgment of his current strength. Strong people are proud and conceited. People like Orochimaru don't even put the Kages of the various villages in his eyes. For a long time, Orochimaru thought that as long as he got Sasuke's body, grabbed Itachi Uchiha's eyes, broke the corpse demon seal, took back his hands, and merged with Hashirama's cells, he could beat the entire ninja world with Edo Tensei. This judgment may be right, but Orochimaru hasn't even achieved a small goal. Shinobu has 2 of the Sannin, Tsunade and Jiraiya, and the veteran ninja of Danzo's generation. And the new generation of Hinata is even more powerful. Organizations have many experts, and Pain, the leader of Akatsuki, also showed the power of Rinnegan this time. In all fairness, Orochimaru actually looked down on Pain's ability. This is not Orochimaru's conceit. If Orochimaru was in his heyday, he would be able to fight against Pain. What's more, in Orochimaru's plan, he still has the possibility to go further. However, Pain's main body, Nagato, made Orochimaru realize that Rinnegan is not something he can fight against now. The gravity of Chibaku Tensei is a move that Orochimaru can't escape no matter what. Orochimaru's interest was piqued by the presence of the main body hidden behind Six Paths Pain. Orochimaru's return to the organizations represents that the power of Akatsuki has returned to its peak. In the gloomy cave, several transparent figures flashing with fluorescent light appeared one after another. Very good, everyone is here. Pain's voice was low and said indifferently, I announce one thing, Orochimaru has returned to the organizations, and will form a 2-man team with Sasori from now on. Scorpion, please advise me, Orochimaru said with a playful tone and a hint of provocation. If there's a chance, it would be better to let the 3 generations Kazekage and his puppet meet. I wonder if the puppet's ability is stronger, or if the Edo Tensei is stronger. Sasori coldly shouted. Shut up, Orochimaru. Although Sasori has turned the 3 generations Kazekage into his puppets, Sasori was once a ninja of the Sand-Hidden Village, and Orochimaru was treating the 3 generations Kazekage lightly, so Sasori naturally felt a little uncomfortable. It's okay for an unrelated person to talk about it, but Orochimaru is a ninja of the same level as Sasori of the Red Sand, so naturally, Sasori of the Red Sand will pay more attention to him. It's like we can say that our school is bad, but we don't allow outsiders to say a word. Although Sasori's old teammate doesn't like Orochimaru, he has to admit that in addition to Deidara, who can discuss art with him, Orochimaru is the only one in the organizations who can talk to him. Itachi, wearing the Akatsuki's black robe with red clouds, Orochimaru looked at Uchiha Itachi gloomily. Itachi Uchiha was expressionless, and neither of them mentioned Sasuke, as if Sasuke had nothing to do with them. Dried persimmon mackerel provoked. Hey, Orochimaru, since you have returned to the organization, shouldn't you hand over Itachi's younger brother? He is still useful to Itachi. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue and licked his lips, and said in a playful tone, Sasuke is also very useful to me. He is an avenger, and one day he will personally find Itachi for revenge. Let Orochimaru and Itachi solve the matter of Sasuke by themselves. Pain looked at Orochimaru and Itachi Uchiha, and said in a deep voice, Last time's matter is not allowed to happen a second time. If there is a traitor, Akatsuki will definitely hunt him down to the end. Speaking until here, Pain turned to look at Zetsu and said faintly, Zetsu, you explain the next thing. Black Zetsu has always been silent in Akatsuki's gathering. White Zetsu said in a brisk tone. This time's matter is like this. Pain organized this meeting. In addition to announcing Orochimaru's rejoining the organizations, another thing was to discuss Hinata's matter. Hinata has become the biggest threat to the organizations. Dried persimmon mackerel and Itachi Uchiha went to Shinobu to inquire about information, but they fell in the hands of Hinata. Dried persimmon mackerel not only lost his mackerel muscle, but also his arm was broken by Hinata, and he fled back in embarrassment. When they robbed the war compensation, Akatsuki dispatched Deidara, Sasori of the Red Sand, Kakuzu and Haiden for ninjas, but they still returned without success, and even Deidara died on the spot. This time, Shinobu encircled and suppressed Orochimaru. and Orochimaru was also beaten by Hinata and fled in embarrassment. The leader of the organizations, Pain, personally took action, and after a hard battle, he forced Hinata to retreat. And in Nagato's judgment, if Hinata hadn't saved Kakashi and Yamanaka Inoichi at that time, Chibaku Tensei would not have been able to trap Hinata, and even Nagato himself would have been found and killed by Hinata because of excessive consumption. Although the one who fled was Hinata, the one who was defeated was Nagato himself. As the body of Pain, Nagato's biggest weakness is the lack of mobility, and his body is too weak to exert much combat power. In fact, it's very simple for Nagato to recover his body. As long as he absorbs the Biju's chakra with the Gekido's seal, his body can roughly recover. What's more, if White Zetsu's legs are cut off and transplanted to Nagato's body, Nagato can even recover mobility. However, no one will tell Nagato all this. Black Zetsu and Bordered Soil will only tell Nagato that the Geto Mazo is the vessel of the Biju. Only by sealing the Biju in the Geto Mazo can the Geto Mazo become the ultimate weapon of war. For the ideal of world peace, Nagato will naturally not absorb the chakra of the Biju. After Hinata's information was made public, Pain said in a deep voice, "Unless there are more than 4 people, if you encounter Hinata of Shinobu, you must evacuate as soon as possible. Before the Akatsuki's plan begins, I don't want anyone to die. After our plan begins, I will personally come to Shinobu, kill Hinata, and take the 9 tails in Uzumaki Naruto's body. Even if everyone in the organizations are unruly and powerful S-class ninjas, no one dares to speak loudly at this time." Thinking about it carefully, the only people in the organizations who haven't been beaten by Hinata are Konan and Zetsu. Everyone else has been beaten by Hinata more or less. The only difference is whether they are miserable or not. Orochimaru suddenly asked, "Speaking of which, how far is the Akatsuki's plan?" Pain said faintly, "We are still raising funds. The resurrection of the Sanbai will take about 2 years. After 2 years, the first step of the plan will begin. Any organization that wants to survive can't lack the need for funds. Whether it's for the Rain Village, the Rain Country, or for future plans, the organizations need enough funds. Even if they want to rule the world, they need a lot of people to manage the place. And hiring people requires a lot of money." 2 years, Orochimaru said playfully. "If there's nothing else, I'm going to do my experiment. I just have the latest inspiration." Pain said in a deep voice. "Then this meeting ends here." Chapter 304. Everyone in the organizations dispelled the phantom body jutsu at the same time, leaving only Pain, Konan, Zetsu, and Orochimaru in the dark cave. Orochimaru was about to leave when Pain suddenly stopped Orochimaru and said in a low voice, "How is your research on the Shiki Fujin Jutsu?" Orochimaru showed a trace of doubt, and a ruthless look flashed in his eyes. "I have some clues at the moment." Orochimaru didn't ask Pain how he knew that he was studying the Shiki Fujin Jutsu, because it was meaningless. However, what interested Orochimaru was that Pain asked about the Shiki Fujin Jutsu. Orochimaru looked at Pain, waiting for Pain's next words. When Shinobu's 4th Naruto sealed the 9 tails, he used the Shiki Fujin Jutsu to split the 9 tails into 2. One half was sealed in Naruto's body, and the other half was sealed in his own body. "I hope you can unlock the Shiki Fujin Jutsu, and use Edo Tensei to summon the 4th Naruto, and help us get the other half of the 9 tails in the 4th. So that's how it is." Orochimaru's snake eyes flashed with understanding. He stuck out his tongue and licked his lips, and a hoarse voice sounded faintly. "Unlocking the Shiki Fujin Jutsu requires the Shinigami mask. And according to the information I have, the Shinigami mask is in the Uzumaki clan's Noodle Hall in Shinobu Village." After Orochimaru exchanged the Shiki Fujin Jutsu with Danzo, he quickly mastered this ninjutsu and found a way to unlock the Shiki Fujin Jutsu. However, when Orochimaru proposed to Danzo to exchange the Shinigami mask, Danzo proposed to exchange Sasuke's body as a condition. Although Danzo's means are insidious, he still favors Shinobu in his heart. Sasuke, who is bent on revenge, has obviously become a threat to Shinobu. And once Orochimaru gets Sasuke's body, Orochimaru's threat will be even greater. The purpose of Root's existence is to protect Shinobu at all costs. However, for now, Sasuke's death is obviously a protection for Shinobu. Of course, Orochimaru was reluctant to part with Sasuke, so this matter was delayed. But if there's organizations as help, thinking of this, Orochimaru said with interest, if you can get the Shinigami mask, your request won't be difficult to fulfill. Pain glanced Pain's Pain, nodded and said Pain. Orochimaru also followed Pain's gaze and looked at Pain. Pain's glance just now seemed to be ordering Pain to deal with this matter, but Orochimaru saw a kind of inquiry in Pain's eyes. The leader of organizations actually asked Pain? It's really interesting, Orochimaru said in his heart. I didn't expect to find so many interesting things after joining Akatsuki this time. If Akatsuki can get the Shinigami mask, then my hands. Even with Orochimaru's calmness, he couldn't help but be excited at this moment. With his hands back, Orochimaru can return to his peak state. No, he can be stronger than before. There has been a new breakthrough in Edo Tensei. Hashirama's cells can restore the dead who came out of Edo Tensei to their peak state before death. But in contrast, if you want to control these people, you also need to transplant Shodai cells. Although Orochimaru doesn't have a complete technology to transplant Shodai cells, as long as he continues to study, Orochimaru believes that one day he will be able to break through the technical bottleneck and make himself the most perfect state. Pain said in a deep voice. Pain, then I'll leave this task to you. Pain nodded and used the spore technique on Orochimaru without leaving a trace. Next, Pain has more important things to cooperate with Orochimaru. The Edo Tensei is really interesting, but these things can't be known by Nagato and Bordered Soil. With Kirizen's understanding of Orochimaru, people like Orochimaru, as long as you can satisfy his curiosity, you can make Orochimaru work for you through a transaction. And Orochimaru's current pursuit is nothing more than the power of Hagoromo Sannin. Kirizen can point the way for Orochimaru, and then use Orochimaru to balance Bordered Soil. If Uchiha Madara can be resurrected, it is obviously more reliable than Bordered Soil. Orochimaru glanced at Pain with interest, and found that Pain was also looking at him. The two's eyes met. Even if some things are not said, they can read each other's meaning from their eyes. With a chuckle, Orochimaru turned and walked out of the cave. White Zetsu said in a brisk tone. Then I'll leave too. After the words fell, Pain slowly sank into the ground and disappeared. Pain stood in the same place for a long time without saying anything. Conan asked with concern. Pain, what's wrong with you? Pain said in a deep voice. It's nothing, I just suddenly have a feeling that things are gradually getting out of my control. Conan frowned and said, Is it because of Hinata? Maybe. A cold light flashed through the circular eyes of the Samsara eye. We all underestimated the power of Hinata. This time, if it wasn't to save people, Hinata would not suddenly retreat. Conan said seriously. Pain, you are the strongest. Pain said in a deep voice. It's not enough now. The order of sealing the tailed beasts has to start with one tail, and the 9 tails has to be sealed last. When our plan begins, I will personally come to Shinobu and kill Hinata with the power of Gedomazo. Pain's plan is very clear. After he seals the 8-tailed beasts, no, if he gets the other half of the 9 tails in Namikaze Minato's body, as long as he collects the 8-tailed beasts, he can resurrect the ultimate weapon in Bordered Soil's mouth. I won't forget Yahiko's pain. Everything starts with Shinobu. Xiaonan looked at Pain worriedly, and deep worry flashed in the depths of her eyes. When Orochimaru returned to his secret base, Apothecary's Pocket immediately greeted him. Orochimaru-sama, you, seeing Orochimaru's clothes, Apothecary's Pocket hesitated to speak. You choose to return to the organizations? Yes. Orochimaru looked quite excited, and even his tone was a lot more amiable. The organizations will help me get the shinobi mask. Let's not talk about this for now. How is Sasuke now? Apothecary's Pocket reported. Sasuke has woken up. His injury is not serious. Understood. Orochimaru interrupted Apothecary's Pocket's report and walked to the door. Orochimaru warned in a cold voice. Don't let anyone disturb me. Apothecary's pocket respectfully responded. Yes. Orochimaru-sama. Ha 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 ha. Entering his room, Orochimaru could no longer suppress the excitement in his heart, and couldn't help but chuckle. This is really interesting. Although this incident was completely out of Orochimaru's expectations, it allowed Orochimaru to discover too many secrets. And that Jugai should be coming. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.